Yeah, no, it's your eyes do not deceive you. We are going a little bit early. Also, like always, been some wild updates over on Streamlabs again. So let's just, like, what the hell's going on here? Like, is it, oh, it's normal. Okay, because like on my end, and this is super weird, I guess the backstage portion, because you have like a studio layout on, what am I talking about? You guys don't care about this shit. But the thing is, they changed it again, so there's like a whited out version of the screen over here, and I was like, what the hell? I just did all this color correcting and shit. And now it looks all silly. But no, it's just the system. Anyways, what's going on, everybody? We're a little bit early today. When are you gonna switch to OBS? I don't know. The next time I quit YouTube. How about this, Adam? The next time I do a massive decision that shakes up the entire way that I do content creation, I'll switch over, okay? Still purple? You're purple, bun sauce. What do you think about that? Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. What's going on? Let me know. As you're coming in, what is good? It's going to be a big day. Hey, what's up, Rob? Hope you're doing well, brother. Big day today. We're gonna be bringing Rob on either in an hour, maybe hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I'm not sure. We're gonna line it up. We'll figure it out together. I've got a lot of stuff I want to get into today. A lot of stuff. We of course have the Cinemacon presentation. Holy crap! A lot of cool stuff to talk about with regards to that. You know what I'm gonna do too, guys? I'm going to get a sign. Okay, and we're going to put it back there, probably around Han Solo's neck. Maybe we'll put it around Chewie's neck. I don't know which one would actually be better, frankly. But we're going to get a sign, and the sign is going to say on one side, it's over. And then on the other side, it's going to say, we are so back. And I think that's an appropriate sign for basically the Marvel fandom. And where we're at, and I'm gonna have that hanging out in the back, and we'll switch it accordingly depending on what the news is and depending on what's going on. So there you go. Chewie, you won't get it around Harrison's neck? What do you mean? Oh yeah, I guess that's true. Looking at the thing, now I understand what you're saying. So yeah, we'll put it around Chewie's neck, like I said. Let's see here. I saw a member chat fly in. Javier says, if I'm in the Discord, how do I join the Diamond Lounge? And also, do we still watch it on YouTube? All these steps, blah, LOL, much love. Yeah, so you still watch it on YouTube. It's still a YouTube stream. You just have to gain access to it through the Discord, okay? It's a special stream that you can only gain access to if you are a Diamond member. If you have been a member for 6 months or more, you can get on into the Diamond Lounge. And we're doing a stream tonight. As you guys are probably well aware, it's been an interesting week. I have made a lot of changes to the content, got a lot on my mind, and tonight at 7:30, we're going to go into the Diamond Lounge. We're going to have a couple of drinks. We're going to have a couple of smokes. I'm going to take a few shots, and I'm going to really just speak about what's going on and where I'm at and a lot of stuff. It's going to get wild tonight in the Diamond Lounge. So that's one thing that's going on. And then on Sunday, if you're a Prime member, I will be going live for Prime members, and I'm going to explain it a little bit more succinctly from the business perspective. Less drink, less smoke, more focus. That'll be what's going on Sunday. I want to join the Diamond Lounge. I'll throw you a link, Rob. It's tonight at 7:30, though. I don't know if you have anything going on, but see, Rob, the reason I make people wait 6 months is so they won't cancel me. Essentially, like, the whole idea is, like, if you spend 6 months being a paid member, you're probably not going to cancel me. Got a hell dive tonight? I hear you. Dude, the new shit that came out yesterday, whew, I'm loving it. What are you drinking tonight? I'm not really sure. I'm probably going to get a little tequila. Have a little tequila. I'll have a few beers or whatever, but, yeah, that'll be what's going on tonight. It'll be good. So, yeah, that's kind of the game plan for today. We've got a big old stream today, a lot to get into, a lot of things I want to talk about. And then we will have the Diamond Lounge tonight at 7:30, and then we have a stream on Sunday. Lots of cool shit to get into today, man. I also want to talk a little bit about UFC 300. I know we're crossing streams here. I know not all of you guys are into fighting like I am, but I know some of you are. And I know some of you guys hit me up and were like, yo, go over your picks for the card. So we'll do that too. In fact, we should probably do that soon. You know what I mean? We started a little bit early. You know, we're just kind of waiting for people to get in here. Maybe we do that soon. Sajid says, stream going to carry me through the end of work all the way to the dispensary to prepare for Diamond celebrations tonight, baby. Oh, hell yeah, man. That sounds great. And Locationary, welcome back to the Nerd Avengers, man. Welcome back. I guess PA is going to put up legalization. They're putting it up as a thing. So, fingers crossed, baby. You know what I mean? Fingers crossed. I technically, tell me if this isn't the most Josh thing you've ever heard. I went to the doctor, got my doctor to prescribe me, or I guess refer me to another doctor to get my medical card. Because I've got a fever. And the only prescription is more blinkers. You know what I'm saying? So, look, I got that shit. Had a phone call with the other doctor. Had an email with them. He sent me a thing that I have to do through the state. I tried it once. It didn't work. And that was a month or two ago. So, no card. No nothing. Just Josh being Josh, you know what I mean? So, yeah. I've had it legally in VA for years now, but they still haven't given us dispensaries. What? Really? That's wild. Just eat some shrooms? What? That sounds like a wild idea. I guess we should get the gambling going on for you guys, huh? Get a little bit of gambling going on. Let me get that set up. Yeah, it's this one. Yeah, that one. Yeah, that. Why do I have like sign? Oh my god, I'm not. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. You didn't invent the system. You know, we're both victims here. It's fine. Got an app for everything these days. Okay, there you go. There's your gambling. How are you not stocking up when you visit Philly, going to New Jersey? YouTube not working. Vault Tech Spy says YouTube's working. I think, right? What? Yeah, we should be good. I'll tell you a little secret, Adam. If you really want the goodies, it's actually better to go west. Michigan. Who would have thought? But Michigan is the spot to get all of your needs taken care of for a pretty low price, which is pretty cool. Show Me the Monkey says, hey, Josh, your enthusiasm for writing has inspired me to start writing. I'm writing Spider-Man story for fun. Any tips on how to structure comics? I mean, I've got a ton of tips on how to structure comics. If I get started on talking about that, I'll get really sucked in. But I'll recommend you a couple of things. There's a Brian Michael Bendis called Words for Pictures, I believe. Great book. There's also there's a lot of different resources for it, man. I guess the tip I would give you is comic writing specifically, as opposed to a lot of other writing. You have to really think through the visual aspects of the page itself, but also remember the comic book script is really a conversation between you and your creative team. Okay? You've got all kinds of people. You've got your Scott Snyders and your Alan Moores that'll write like a 100-page script for a 20-page comic. And then you have others that don't do that shit at all. So there's all kinds of ways to do it. But remember that it's a conversation between your team. And what I mean is this, is like if you need a certain character at a certain part of the panel, you better specifically mention that in your script, right? You are giving what is needed to an artist and then a colorist and then a letterer. So it's a conversation between you and that team. And you have to find a way to get them to have the information that you think they need as a writer to do their job. That's what it is. Jonathan, welcome back to the Nerd Avengers, baby. I hate the Ice Age baby from Ice Age. I don't know what that means. Who's the Ice Age baby? What the hell? I remember like a squirrel or something, or a sloth. I don't remember no baby. What baby are we talking about? We need to raise the max on gambling? Yeah, I don't know about that, bro. Rossi says, live in the Bible Belt. Weed laws are draconian. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, man. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Uncultured swine. Wait, what? That's the entire plot, Josh? I don't remember that. I just remember Ray Romano. Oh, yeah, there is a little Eskimo baby or whatever. You're not supposed to say Eskimo, I guess, now. Ah! Yeah. What did the baby do? Yeah, what did the baby do? I don't even remember. Bro, I am so excited for you and Rob to get together today. Me too. Me too. I think it's going to be dope, man. We're going to talk X-Men 97. We were texting a little bit about it yesterday. And I think it's going to be a good conversation. Look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I love X-Men 97, but Rob is gassing that shit. I mean, like, Rob, if you're... Bro, you are going nuts right now on X-Men 97. Better than Endgame? Rob, I was trying to tell people that people were having that opinion. Right? On Wednesday. I was like, pause the music. On Wednesday, I was like, dude, people are wilding. People are gassing this thing up. Like, people are saying it's better than Endgame. And some of you guys are like, nah, I don't see any of that. Rob said it. Rob said it. Like, bro, people are going nuts for X-Men 97. So we got a lot to talk about because I wanna like get his full take on that. And I want to give my take, and then I also want to talk about, like, who's behind this shit. Rob and I had a little conversation about it yesterday, but we're going to give you the juice later on. It's going to be good. Somebody on Twitter said, Last Ronin. Yo, I want to show you something. Oh, man. Oh, I want to show you guys something. Check this out, man. Last Ronin. Okay. Kevin Eastman, Tom Waltz, and Peter Laird. They all signed it. Let me see. Yeah. And this thing just went up in value. You know what I mean? And we're going to talk about that. I'm very excited. Very excited. Laird? Yeah, that's what I said. Laird. What did I say? What did I say? Rossi says, dude, was the three-headed Sentinel in X-Men 97? What was the three-headed Sentinel? Well, we're going to talk about that. I'll talk about that when I get Rob on here. It's from Grant Morrison's X-Men. We'll get into all that, man. We'll get into all of that. Sir Louis Brick says, X-Men 97 brought me back to the X-Men. Love that show. Better than Bad Batch, despite being a good season. Nerd Avengers for life. Unity, baby. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. X-Men 97 is doing some pretty incredible things. I think it's making a lot of waves right now. I think a lot of the conversations that fans are having are super cool, very healthy. A lot of interesting stuff going on with that. Again, I'm going to kind of talk more about that in a second here. But you know what? Since you guys are so hungry for X-Men 97, let's start with something kind of interesting here. So somebody in the Discord was talking about X-Men 97 earlier. Forgive me, I don't know exactly who it was, but they made me realize this crazy thing about X-Men 97. We have to talk about this, and it's the fact that I'm now realizing that there's kind of like a whole generation that was raised on Marvel without the X-Men. Okay, and I want to explain that because, like, it's just becoming more and more apparent, and I think some of you don't even know that this is a thing, and you didn't know that that's on purpose, that Marvel did that on purpose, okay? So we obviously had the heyday of the X-Men. If you're my age, if you're Rob's age, if you're an older person, which it's weird to say, but it's true, you know, we're getting up there, Rob. you grew up with the X-Men. You know, the original animated show. Also, the 90s, you had X-Men in the grocery store, on the spinner rack and stuff. X-Men was everywhere. It was very, very much a big, big deal. Okay? At some point, and this is after the license is sold to Fox, which I think is late 90s, early 2000s, because I think the first X-Men movie with Jackman was like 99 or 2000, right? So once that happened, Marvel themselves changed a lot of stuff to downplay the X-Men. And they did it on purpose. I believe Ike Perlmutter was involved in this. And I'm talking about, you saw this all across the board. Okay? Marvel would not support the X-Men via their websites, their television shows, their comic books. Technically, were X-Men still going on? Yeah, and there was some stuff that happened that kind of popped off. But you have the death of Cyclops, you have the death of, you have the death of Wolverine, then you have the death of Professor X, you have the death of a lot of these things, okay? I was a HeroClix player. I've talked to you guys about this before, but HeroClix is like a big part of my fandom. We knew as a HeroClix player, don't expect any X-Men. Don't expect any X-Men because they were not doing it. Marvel Studios themselves was not supporting the X-Men because it would benefit Fox rather than benefit them. In 2019, when I went to New York Comic-Con, I sat there and it was awesome. This was like Jonathan Hickman's Powers of X, House of X run, right? And so that panel was hype, man. A lot of people were excited. We were excited to see not just what was going to happen with the end of that story, but the other books that were coming out. This one, like, Percy's put on Wolverine. I remember them throwing up the shot of like Magneto, Charles Xavier, and Apocalypse in like suits, like business suits at like the UN or whatever. It's like really, really cool. Well, at the end of that panel, you had a Q&A. You had a bunch of X-Men fans line up and ask questions to the editor and to the creative team. The first question that was asked was a fan literally saying exactly what I'm saying to you right now. Something to the effect of, so Marvel has kind of not been utilizing or putting the focus on the X-Men for a long time, and we all know that's because of Fox. And so it's great that now that you guys have them back, we're getting actual effort and continuation and like, you know, like the X-Men are back. And I remember, I forget who the editor was. Like I can see his face right now, but I don't remember his name exactly. But I remember him trying to like downplay that and like talk about how that's just a rumor, that's not real or whatever. And the whole crowd was like, boo! Like, dude, we know what it is. You can't trick the fans. Like, that's what it was. They basically hid the X-Men, didn't put a big focus on them. And no, it wasn't Axel. It was the dude with the mustache. He's like a little bit of a bigger guy. Kind of have a fun, you know, personality. He was just, I think, in charge of the X books at the time. But I say all of that to say, like, bro, it's crazy to me watching. Like, we literally had somebody on the Discord earlier that was like, you know, I never really understood the X-Men fans, and I never really understood why the X-Men were such a big deal. And it kind of clicked for me. That was on purpose. And so we're living through this crazy moment right now where a lot of Marvel fans, because a lot of you guys are much younger. Yeah, it was Jordan White. That's him. A lot of you guys are like much younger than me, and you've only been around in this era of Marvel when the X-Men were kind of like sucked out of everything, right? And that's been a long time. We're talking like 20 years, bro. Jackman played the character for 17 years. That whole run, Marvel was like, dude, you didn't even have like awesome X-Men action figures. I'm telling you, that's real. And it made me realize this, and I was like, damn, this is crazy. So many fans are now starting to get it. They're now starting to understand it, and they're like, whoa, like, dude, X-Men's freaking awesome. I think that's maybe part of why you're getting so much of this energy online that, like, X-Men 97 is the best superhero media. It's better than the MCU. All these different things. Like, you're getting a wave of people, and maybe half of the people are older fans like myself that are like, finally, we're back, baby, But then you have this newer generation that's basically raised on Avengers, raised on Tony Stark, Captain America, and a lot of weird other stuff in comics. And it's just kind of interesting. You know what I mean? Like, it's just kind of interesting that's what's going on right now. And I think we're finding out in real time why these characters are so good and why the future is so bright for Marvel. Because you got to remember, when Marvel was going bankrupt, they sold the license to their most popular stuff. They wanted the most amount of money to try to prevent them from going bankrupt. So they sell off Spider-Man. They sell off X-Men. They sell off Fantastic Four because they could point to little sheets of paper that have sales reports and say, like, this is the most selling comic of all time, or this is one of the most selling comics of all time. Like, this has been a giant in our industry. That's how they were able to trick the Hollywood people into, buying those licenses, right? Oh, shit, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. But yeah, I think that's kind of just an interesting thing to kind of consider when it comes to X-Men. I wonder how many of you guys are that. Like, how many of you guys actually are now experiencing it for the first time? You know what I mean? Like, really getting it for the first time. Like, pretty wild, huh? Pretty crazy, pretty crazy situation there, Yeah. Can you do 480p streams? I need it. Absolutely. Just for you. Is it because of the Canadian internet? Did Justin Trudeau throttle your connection? And are you allowed to admit that without fear of going to jail? I'm just trying to figure it out. I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing up there. You know what I mean? Like, jeez. Jeez, man. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so something else I want to talk about. And also, like, dude, what the temperature in here is wild. I'm taking this off. The pants are next, It was cold in here. Now it's hot in here. I don't know what's going on. Trying to survive. Glad I own a house. Do you, though? What if Trudeau's like, you don't? Anyway, all right, let's stop. Let's stay on topic. Man. You look like you're roasting. Dude, I was fucking, I know. Like, I literally came in here, it was cold. Now I'm like heating up, Josh is sick. No, I'm not sick. But my glasses are all fogging up. Maybe it's like the energy. The energy of the X-Men just has me so hot and bothered. You know what I mean? Shit. Okay. So there's another thing I want to talk about. There's another thing I want to talk about before we get into, I want to talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then I want to talk about the presentation. Okay, we're going to get into the Marvel presentation. They're the summer children of Marvel. They are. But, I mean, they're still welcome. Like, dude, we're not going to do that whole Star Wars thing, It's like, you weren't there in 1976. Fuck you. You don't like real Star Wars. I bet you like Rey too. We're not going to do that. It's more like, hey, welcome. Here's a lot of cool shit that you should probably know about. That's what we're going to do. All right. Anyway. Can I put these glasses on without fogging up? Like, what the hell's going on here today? When's Rob speaking? Probably in about an hour. Something like that. We got a couple things to get through. Okay. Now I'm freezing cold. What the fuck is going on here? Okay. Put the glasses back on. You don't say that to me. Okay. Ready? Here we go. So, I don't know if you noticed, but X-Men 97 is real good, and people really, really like it. And I've seen this question asked several different ways. Like, a lot of people are bringing this up. Why is X-Men 97 so much better than a lot of what we've been getting in Marvel? Like, what's the deal? Like, what's up with that, right? You've got people saying it's better than a lot of Phase 4 and Phase 5. I think that's totally fair. Like, it does kind of clear a lot of what we've gotten in the past couple of years. But you've got people literally saying it's better than Endgame. You've got people saying this is better than a lot of what has come before in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, what the hell is happening? Is that real? I mean, I don't know, but I'll tell you this. I've thought about it. And I think I've come up with 5 different reasons why this show is so much better than we expected it to be, so much better than a lot of other content that's out there. And we're going to go over that right now. So the first reason, and let me know if you're feeling these reasons or not in the chat. The first reason comes down to the show avoids a major pitfall of Marvel's current way of producing projects. Mainly this whole concept of fix it in post. Marvel Studios kind of has a bad habit that's based on success. So I don't know if you know this. They didn't even have a finished script for Iron Man 1 when they started filming. I think they were even going to have like the Mandarin be in Iron Man 1 at one point, and then they kind of like change it. So the studio's philosophy since inception has kind of been, we'll fix it in post. We'll scramble. We'll figure it out. And for a while that worked. I would argue, you know, they got lucky in some ways. They also had people that worked really well within that system, right? So think about Robert Downey Jr. We just saw in this article that he is a very big, you know, going off script, you know, feeling it in the moment, changing things up, being true to the character, but making it feel fresh. I think the Russos are like that too. You know, I watched a number of different interviews with the Russo. They have a really great one with Zack Snyder where they're breaking down their process. And the Russos are very much like that as well. You know, they like to switch things around. They'll play with stuff. If they find something, they double down on it. So they had people that worked well within that system. Now, going into Phase 4 and 5, it's just obvious that that shit is not working, right? And you look at all the different things that are going on, all the lackluster, unfulfilled story beats, some of the weird editing, unfinished CGI, go through all the lists. You could take a lot of what's going on with Marvel Studios right now and lay it at the feet of this this strategy of we'll fix it in post, right? Well, you can't do that in X-Men 97. And this is something that's just because of the way animation works, it's not so easy to get your actors back and totally change a scene. You can't let an actor just ad-lib and go off script because then you have to redo the animation, right? So things have to be more meticulously thought out and put together for the production. I think that's a big reason as to why this is much better than a lot of stuff that's going on with Marvel right now. Who's to say exactly? Like, does that system need to be thrown out completely? Probably not. Is it volume? Is it delays? Is it trying to work with Sony and then also the pandemic and all this? It's probably a lot of that. But I think we can all just see the evidence of it just not working, right? So it's not working. And X-Men 97 misses that. It's able to avoid that pitfall completely. Now, the reason number 2 is it's not weighed down with continuity. This is yet again another thing that used to be a benefit to Marvel Studios and has now become a burden. Because everything is connected and there's a way it's supposed to fit together. When things go wrong and you go back to that first one and you change it in post, usually that means you've got to just pull stuff out of other projects. And I think Phase 4 specifically, it had a lot of this, where like originally Doctor Strange is supposed to be in WandaVision. All of those commercials, which by the way end up basically amounting to nothing in the show, they originally had deep meaning connected to Doctor Strange wanting to communicate to Wanda to break her out of something that was going on. That just gets completely abandoned because they have to change the scheduling of other movies. And they're like, well, we just, we'll take. That's what was happening. They were like, okay, well, we just got to remove this then. And I think you see a serious lack of connective tissue, ironically, because they didn't want things to clash in their continuity. X-Men 97 doesn't have that problem at all. X-Men 97 is allowed to fly all on its own. It is canon to the show that came before. It is adapting things from the comics, but it is already changing things. And I think it's going to change more things, and it doesn't have to worry about it. If the show wants to do something dope, it can do something dope. It doesn't have to think about how that's going to affect the next Disney Plus streaming show or the next movie or the next this, that, second, and the third. No, none of that is of their concern. They are just here to wow the audience, blow our hair back, and excite us with awesome and dope shit. It's surprising, it's shocking, it's fresh, it's fun. And so it avoids another pitfall of the Marvel Studios system. Reason number 3. These are characters that a lot of people know. We have the archetype for these characters already in mind because of the show that came before, because of other X-Men media. Now, again, maybe this is more so for older fans, also fans that have explored the X-Men in any meaningful way. We kind of get it, right? We kind of get Charles Xavier. Even if you're a big normie, you kind of get it. You like Magneto, you kind of get it. You get Cyclops, you get Wolverine, you get Jean Grey. And I think one of the reasons you get them is because they're pretty human, despite being actually mutants and having these extravagant powers. They have very human motivations. They have very human flaws. And the show's able to take what is established if these characters and put them through the ringer. The show is dumping trauma and conflict and weariness, self-doubt, all of these things. It's just dumping all this shit onto these characters. And I think it partially works as well as it does because there's such a strong attachment to who these characters are and the archetypes that have already been established for them. Like, if we were talking about this the other week, where if we went into just a regular mall, right, and we were asking people to look at pictures of comic book characters and ask them what they knew about them, I think when it came to a character like Wolverine, even the most normie of person, I mean, anybody that has any kind of awareness of comic books is going to be like, that's Wolverine. He is a grumpy, angry, hack and slash type dude. Like, that's who he is. Like, you have that basic archetype of Wolverine figured out. Hugh Jackman has a lot to do with that, right? Same with Cyclops, Jean, Magneto, all the way down. I think their traits are pretty well established, and I think that the show gets to play with characters that are really there, that a lot of people already recognize, and I think that's a big fucking deal. The fourth reason I think this show is so much better and people are loving it so much is because it's pulling from absolutely incredible source material. There's a reason the X-Men are what they are to comic book fans, and it's because some of the best writers that have ever done any work in comics, some of the best artists that have ever done any work in comics have done that work in the X-Men. The show is standing on the shoulders of giants, and it's not just the people that made the other version of the show, although I would argue that is true as well, and the creators of the original show are giants in the game. But we're also standing on the shoulders of Chris Claremont and Grant Morrison They have a catalog where some of the most brilliant minds that have ever worked in this industry have poured themselves into these stories with these characters because they matter. They matter to the people then. They matter to people now. So it's interesting to see how they are adapting the comics. I think a lot of people right now are getting frustrated with Marvel because Marvel seems to be trying to do their own thing and go away from the comics. That's kind of always been the way it is, though. Like even Civil War, Age of Ultron, these are not what they were in the comics. But Marvel used to figure out how to adapt it in their own way and still kind of have the feelings of what was going on. Like I would argue Age of Ultron, I would definitely say Civil War has a lot of the same feeling of, you know, the Mark Miller story. I believe it was Mark Miller. But it certainly doesn't have the same beats. It doesn't have the same characters, right? But it has the same feeling. And I think we've kind of gotten away from that. I mean, Phase 4 was somewhat of an experiment, trying a lot of different things and trying them in ways that felt fresh. And I think a lot of that shit just fell flat. Like, frankly, I think a lot of fans just want the goodies from comics. And there's also, like, a reason. Like, here's the thing that's weird, right? Like, again, I find it so strange that, you know, the X-Men are as popular as they are. You know that's because of the stories that have happened in comics, right? Why would you not utilize that? Like, it feels counterintuitive to have all of this stuff, know what it is, buy the rights back for what did Disney do? $73 billion to get all the Fox rights back? And not use it? Not adapt it? I mean, that's what Star Wars, that's the Star Wars problem, right? Remember Kathleen Kennedy's like, we have no source material. There's no comics. There's no novels and all this stuff. And a lot of us are like, bro, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you have incredible stories in the EU. Why wouldn't you adapt it? And I think this show stands on the shoulders of giants. Like, that's another big reason as to why it's killing it. And then the last reason, and I think this is a really important one. And I'm actually gonna pull something up here on Twitter because I think it's a really big deal, guys. And that is that the people that are making this show, it's personal to them. It's personal. Okay? And I wanna pull up a little thing here because we talked about this before, actually. But it bears repeating, and I'm excited to share this with you again. Let me get this pulled up here. This is somebody commenting on an old story here where Bo DeMeo, okay, that his writer's room only recruited writers who were fans of the original. Let's get the full quote. Question, can you discuss how the production team came about? Like, how were they recruited for X-Men 97? Answer, for sure. In fall of 2020, Marvel's head of streaming asked me to develop a take to revive the show. From there, I pitched it out, was hired. My LP was the first hire, and he brought along all the amazing talent that followed. My general rule was you had to be a fan. No questions. I've been on a show, namely Witcher, where some of the writers were not or actively disliked the books and games. I think he meant were not fans or actively disliked the books and games. Even actively mocking the source material. Reminds me of Gutierrez and the Luke Skywalker fan tears. You remember that? Not a good look. I've been on a show, namely The Witcher. Yeah. It's a recipe for disaster and a bad move. Fandom, as a litmus test, checks egos and makes all the long nights worth it. You have to respect the work before you're allowed to add to its legacy. Man, I'm getting sick of these people that aren't actually fans making this shit. And man, I'm getting sick of the studios trying to act like it's not a big deal, like it doesn't matter. At what point are we going to wake the fuck up and understand that it matters? Look at what's happening with Fallout right now. And I know there's some buttholes hating on Fallout. Bro, Fallout's amazing. It's amazing. And you got Todd Howard over there's working on it. Look at what happened with Last of Us. I'm not a Last of Us fan. I didn't play the games, but the show's blowing up. It's crushing it. Because you've got Neil Druckmann working on the show. What happened with Super Mario Brothers? Miyamoto involved. What happened with the live-action One Piece? Oda involved. Holy shit. What's it going to take? Look at the Halo show. I don't know who's making that Halo show, but they're not a fucking fan. Period. They're not a fan. So I'm sick of this, like, oh, let's tiptoe around the issue, or, oh, you don't really need to be a fan. No, fuck that. You do. Fuck that. You do. And I'm really hoping, man, I'm really hoping that Marvel gets it. I mean, the evidence is there. The proof is in the pudding. This shit is blowing up. You've got people going nuts for it. You want to know how you know that this show's crushing it? You've got haters trying to make a distinction between Marvel Animation and Marvel Studios. Because it can't be together, otherwise Marvel Studios did something right. You've got fucking haters trying to make it though this show was not made by Marvel Studios because they can't comprehend it. It breaks their narrative because it's everything they've been saying they wanted from Marvel for years. So the only way you can fuck with it is if you say it wasn't actually Kevin Feige. And by the way, I have nothing against those people. Get your bread. But if you want facts, that's what it is. To me, I would take that as a sign. I would be very excited if I was Marvel. I would be like, oh, God damn. We got something that might just be hater-proof. And then figure out why. And also, I just told you why. Shut your mouth and make more of this shit. So. Sorry, got a little got a little heated there, but yeah, real talk. That's what it is. Real talk. What do you think, chat? What do you think? Think I'm crazy? Don't you know I'm loco? Also, why is my music not playing? What the hell is going on here? Rossi says, can you check my diamond status? I got in 1 month, then last stream I got no link notification. Could it be YouTube? Oh, brother, you're not going to get a notification for the Diamond Lounge streams. You gotta just be there at 7:30 because it's not going through the regular YouTube system, so you won't get a notification on that. I said do 4K. I want to visualize your message. Oh, okay. Wait, what? Did we ever get an official reason for the rift between Feige and the Russos? No, nothing official. Do you understand what I'm saying? This should be the end of hiring people. I don't want to hear one more person on a show come out and be like, well, I was never actually a big fan of it. But I figured, fuck it. They pay well, and I could insert all of my own proclivities and reimagine it as though it were something that I had been into my entire life. You know what I mean? The next time some shit like that happens, we need some of you guys remember the Gong Show? We need a pong, and then there needs to be this huge fucking wooden hook that comes out and yanks those motherfuckers off stage. I'm sick of it, dude. Get the fuck out of here. Like, get out of here. No more. No more. And we shouldn't put up with it anymore. When they start talking that nonsense, we need to push back. Point to the good shit. Support the good shit. You know what I mean? Leslie Headland says, what about Leslie Headland not hiring people who've watched Star Wars? Yeah, that's like my whole fucking point, dude. That's my whole point, dude. Because I remember having that conversation. And look, technically, yes. Could you do a good job as a writer if you are not a Star Wars fan? Sure. I'm not interested. Like, I think, by the way, like, we just have evidence now. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to, like, speculate about it. I think it's obvious. Right? I mean, we're looking at it in real time, man. You've got some stuff that's popping off, and it feels like one of the big reasons is because the people that are making it love it. Love it. You know? So I'm over it. I'm sick of it. But there's also a lot of other good stuff going on here. I think Marvel has a big opportunity to learn a lot from this, okay? So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Okay. Now we got to get into the presentation. The presentation. Are you ready to go, chat? Let me pause this. You guys ready? Let's talk about the presentation. We'll talk about the presentation. Then we'll get Rob in here and we'll talk about X-Men 97. Does that sound good? Let's do it. Oh, and I got to get to my other page of notes here. Whew. Okay, so yesterday, ladies and gentlemen, Marvel was at Cinemacon, and they dropped a lot of stuff, and I think a lot of people got very excited about this online, so I want to break it down for you. We're going to talk about what was shared, what was seen, how fans are reacting to it. We're going to talk about the whole thing, okay? The first thing that I will say, and I will bring up, I was probably like some of you guys. I was kind of glued to Twitter, just watching the updates roll in. I was like, yo, let's go. And it's one of those situations where I can be like, it's Jover. And then you start talking about Deadpool 3 again. I'm like, we're so back, right? And getting excited. So I was glued to Twitter, watching the updates come in. So I'll share with you my perspective on that. We'll also read some descriptions that people have, et cetera, et cetera. The main thing for me is I think Kevin Feige is talking his shit. He came out and the attitude felt a little bit different. Okay, I was critical of Kevin on the red carpet for the Marvels. I felt like he didn't handle some of those questions the best way. Didn't feel strong. And I'm just going to say it. I was like, where is White Suge Knight? Where is White Suge Knight? This guy's my fucking GOAT. And it felt like he had kind of shrunk a little bit from the moment. And things have been, kind of bad. I think we saw at Cinemacon yesterday the return of White Suge Knight, okay? And let me explain. The attitude's different. He mentions going off teleprompter. The whole thing starts with a Deadpool, Wolverine, fourth wall breaking thing where they're both swearing at the audience. Kevin Feige himself, while introducing Sean Levy, was like, let's talk about Deadpool 3. It's fucking awesome. And I can say it's fucking awesome because it's R-rated. To me, I was like, damn, like as a fan, this has been a cool week. You got Robert Downey Jr. Coming in and gassing up Feige. Don't bet against Feige. He's the house. He will always win. You will always lose. That felt pretty good. I was like, yeah. It took me back, gave me some memories, right? And I think he came out swinging yesterday too. So that's the first thing I want to mention is the attitude felt different. And as a big Marvel fan that's been so goddamn sick of the Kevin Feige slander, I'm sick of it. Some of it's deserved. I'm still sick of it. It was nice to feel like he was talking his shit again. It felt good, okay? So he comes out, talks a little bit about Fantastic Four. I think the only real thing that's going on with Fantastic Four is it's coming out next year. They're going to film it in a couple of months. That's pretty much it, okay? Then he's talking about Thunderbolts. Not a lot said about Thunderbolts, okay? We've got an asterisk We got an asterisk in the Thunderbolt title. And apparently that means something. And they will reveal it after the movie comes out. I'm not going to focus on that one too much because, what the fuck? Like, what? Please, if anybody knows why that's cool or why I should be excited, please let me know in chat because I have no fucking idea. I was like, okay, we're just going to move right past that one, okay? So then we get footage from Captain America. And look, here's the thing. Let's break this down. And I'll pull this up. We can go over it together. But the one thing I'll say about Captain America right away, before we kind of even get into the description, is they're comparing it to the Winter Soldier. Okay? I believe Mackie said this. Maybe it was Feige as well. But, like, they're putting it out there. And there's rules to this shit. You cannot just say that. You cannot. You are talking about probably, to this day, the best movie they have ever made. A movie that changed the vibe on Captain America. A movie that changed the vibe for the entire MCU. Okay? So if you make that comparison, if you evoke that comparison in any way, shape, or form, you have got to back that up. Like, again, there are rules to this shit. Okay? My thought on this, and the impression that I got from reading through the Twitter and people that were there and what was said, is that they mean it. They probably spent an extra $100 million to try to get there. They delayed the movie into next year again. I think they mean it, dude. And they now have me kind of like when you're playing your brother or your cousin in the video game, and all of a sudden they start winning, and you sit up. Like, that's kind of what it is for me. I'm standing at attention now. You have my curiosity. So you better follow through on that. Okay? So let's talk through the description. Okay? Cinemacon got to see the very first footage from Captain America: Brave New World. The clip was shown follows Sam Wilson, Anthony Mackie, meeting Thunderbolt Ross, Harrison Ford, who is now the president at the White House. Ross is asking to meet with Wilson so he can reunite the Avengers with a new Captain America at the forefront. He's looking to unite forces, but he might have some ulterior motives unknown to everyone else. During a meeting where Ross is presenting this plan to a crowd with Sam in attendance, a mysterious villain takes over the speakers and controls the minds of Secret Service agents. Full chaos ensues, which leads us to a montage of different action set pieces of the film. We see Sam getting attacked at the White House, using his shield to block himself from multiple Secret Service agents trying to tase him. Okay. We see shots of Sam Wilson and Joaquin Torres in action together. Everything builds up to a tense confrontation between Sam and Thunderbolt Ross inside the Oval Office, wherein Ross tells him, "You're not Steve Rogers." After a long pause, Sam says, "You're right, I'm not." Finally, we see Sam suit up in the new Captain America suit, which is more silver and blue than white. Also, too, there was another scene, and this is not in this description. Let's see if we can find it here. There's also a description of Isaiah Bradley, going nuts. So let's see if we can find this. I don't know. But apparently Bradley has a similar reaction where it appears what's going on is some of the Secret Service people are either co-opted by like Hydra or something. The description I heard was a certain kind of music plays, and then Isaiah Bradley goes fucking nuts. He like slams homie through the table, and he goes really, really crazy. So it seems like what we're getting here is a continuation of that Winter Soldier stuff, right? It could be the leader. It absolutely could be the leader. It could be Manchurian Candidate type stuff and a little bit more of that Winter Soldier Hydra brainwashing that's going on. And I think technically Isaiah Bradley might have had some of those protocols put in because apparently he was wild back in the day. And they talk about this a little bit in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, okay? So a lot of that stuff sounds cool. Here's the thing. You're still just going to have to show me. I think a lot of us are going to show up for this movie, and I think the trailers will be cool. I think the promotion will be cool. But a lot of us still have a lot of questions here, and I think we're just really unsure of it. But having said that, they appear to be walking the walk as well as talking the talk. They've spent a long time on this. They're revamping action sequences. They want it to be that Winter Soldier level. There's also a quote from Anthony Mackie that's really interesting, talking about how this is a change for Marvel Studios. Let me see if I can pull this up. And this is a new direction for Marvel Studios. Let me see if I can find this quote. I found it to be pretty interesting. I was like, that is pretty wild. Let's see here. He also said some stuff about Tom Holland, which I'm sure it was cheeky when he said it. It read a little weird when you read it online. You're like, okay. Let's see. Yeah. They're not pulling it up here, huh? Maybe Captain America. Let's see if I can find this. Because I did think it was a cool quote, man. I thought it was pretty cool. Oh, yeah, and then this is something kind of interesting. So apparently, with Harrison Ford, they kind of make fun or play off of the fact that he's a different actor. Sam will say something like, I have to admit, I'm still not used to your new look. And then Ross is like, me either. They said lose the mustache or lose the election. So, again, Harrison Ford, love him or hate him. I mean, he is a curmudgeon of a man. There is literally one distinguishing factor for Thunderbolt Ross, and Harrison Ford, like, literally couldn't be bothered. So they just figured out a way to write out the stash, which is like, whatever. Again, let me see if I can find that quote from Mackie. I thought it was interesting. Maybe we won't be able to find it. It's getting buried in the sauce here. You've got to look at the thing. Here, I'll pull this up for you guys so you can take a look at this. It looks good. You know, it's going to have that kind of grounded aesthetic. I think it could work. I think the reality of the situation with this movie is Marvel needs it to be the next Winter Soldier. They're putting a lot into it to make sure that it is the next Winter Soldier. I think if this movie works, Avengers 5, maybe Shang-Chi 2, some of these other things are going to work easier. And I think if this movie doesn't work, bro, just go right to Secret Wars. Like, just don't. I wouldn't even mess around with this anymore. I would just go right to Secret Wars. So that's kind of my opinion on that. Now, let's talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. So, a couple of different things going on with Deadpool and Wolverine. I think Marvel knows it's fire. They know it's gas. They're excited. You got Kevin Feige dropping F-bombs. You've got Logan and Deadpool dropping F-bombs, doing a fourth wall break to start the thing off, right? Well, then they show 9 minutes of the actual movie. And it appears this 9 minutes is all around the trailer. So it's a little bit before the trailer and a little bit of an extension after the trailer. So it's like 9 minutes of the film, all from that one spot of like the birthday party and stuff like that. So let's now read the description and we'll react to this together. Captain America Winter Soldier music is playing in the background. Wade Wilson gears up to sell cars, and in the car, riding in the back between two kids, he curses about the car while describing it and jokes that he doesn't have a lot of vaginal sex. This absolutely offends the family of four. Peter is back seeing Wade back at the lockers and suggests he go back to superheroing. Wade says, "I'm done and I'm fine with being done." He does admit, "Is this the life I always imagined for myself? Fuck no." Elsewhere in New York, Peter and Wade ride bikes. "We're Deadpool," Peter tells him, which Wade disputes. Someone across the street is taking photos of them, and Wade notices, denying that today being his birthday is throwing him off. In his apartment, a surprise party is waiting for him. "If this was 5 years ago, you'd all be dead," he jokes. Shatterstar is there, not entertained by Dopinder's stories. Blind Al asks Wade about his sales and is getting impatient about waiting for money from him. "I pray every day that fire finds your body and finishes the job that God didn't have the nuts to do," she tells him. Nice. Colossus has been watching the Great British Bake Off. Negasonic and Yuko are still together. Blind Owl wants to do cocaine, and Wade says, "Cocaine is the one thing Feige said is off limits." Wade catches up with Vanessa, who is seeing a guy named Dermot. Wade is left sad before talking to the group. "It's been a challenging few years," he says, "but I'm happy and that's because of each and every one of you." And this is about how proud I am, how grateful I am to be standing in a room with every single person I love. I'm the luckiest man alive. He makes a wish and blows out the candle. Someone knocks at the door. It's the TVA. Wade thinks they're strippers and that their pruning sticks are for pegging. A portal opens and Wade is pulled through it. He wakes up to Paradox sitting across from him. "We're in charge of defending what's known as the sacred timeline," Paradox says, also proceeding to explain, but then is interrupted by Wade. "That's a shit ton of exposition for a threequel. Is this because I used Cable's time device?" Wade says. "The TVA is aware of the abuse of the timeline, but this has nothing to do with that. Instead, Paradox claims Wade can save the entire timeline. We're really a watchdog organization. We're in charge of defending the sacred timeline. You've been chosen for a higher purpose, one that could save the entire sacred timeline. I suppose I'm going to marvel seeing how cinematic this is with a load of indiscriminate, gratuitous cameos," Wade asks. Paradox tees up a footage of Captain America on the screens, and Wade salutes them. A clip of Thor hovering over Loki dying in Thor 2 sees Deadpool replacing Loki, and Wade is terribly concerned and confused. Paradox believes he is ready to leave his timeline and join the world he has always wanted to. "I smell what you're stepping in, Sensei," Wade says. "I'm a messiah. I am Marvel Jesus." Wade runs to the camera, pulls the mic from frame. He headbutts the lens and shatters it. He grabs the microphone saying, "Fuck you, Fox. I'm going to Disneyland." And he gets a whole new suit in another room with a man with a stylish beard and some extra booty spanks. Yeah, we saw that. He now has adamantium katanas. "Yes, your underwear is getting tighter," Wade declares. The footage cuts to another scene. Wolverine and Deadpool are riding together, and Deadpool mocks his suit. "The X-Men make you wear that?" he asks. "Friends don't let friends leave the house looking like they play for the Los Angeles Rams." Logan responds, "Shut the fuck up." Okay, couple other things he had to add here. Forgot to include in my previous Deadpool Secret Wars post, there's a little more stuff in the opening PSA. Wolverine turns to the screen, threatens to shove the phone up our asses. "Easy now. So much testosterone," says Deadpool, trying to calm him down. And thank God, because we've needed this testosterone in the fucking MCU. Like, thank God. Deadpool and Wolverine also call to mind the riotous banter between Charles Grodin and Robert De Niro in Midnight Run. Yeah, so in the opening thing, too, because this must be on a separate post, in the opening thing, Wade says, I hear in Secret Wars they're going to finally bring in, and then there's like a phone ringing in the audience. So I think they were talking about Doctor Doom there, but, you know, who knows? Kevin Feige also proceeds to drop multiple F-bombs as he introduced Deadpool and Wolverine. After almost a quarter of a century ago, working with Hugh Jackman again as Wolverine, it is incredible. It is extremely exciting, and I hope you don't mind if I say this, it's fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome, and the reason I can say it's fucking awesome is because it's an R-rated movie. Sean Levy says it's pretty historic. We got him to say fuck 3 times. Somewhere, Ryan Reynolds is gleeful. So that is the description of what you get for Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, what's kind of interesting about that is they do tease some, you know, comic booky type things, and I think there's going to be a lot of juice like that. But the movie just seems like a fun movie, and a lot of what I saw from people on Twitter, like reacting to it, was more like, dude, this got the most laughs out of everything at Cinemacon. Like, it's genuinely really funny and genuinely really awesome, testosterone fueled. Like, I think it's going to be a big hit, but I don't know if it's going to be like this crazy. It's not Secret Wars, is I guess what I'm saying. Like, it's not Secret Wars. It is Deadpool and Wolverine. And seeing those characters finally together. And I don't know, man. It might be the perfect time for that. Between what we're getting in X-Men 97, which I think is like a lot more adult than the old X-Men show. Even Falcon and the Winter Soldier, or rather Brave New World and Captain America seems to be going harder edge. You've got TVMA stuff coming, like with Daredevil. It almost seems like Marvel's entering into a phase of more mature, a little bit more hard R, or at least a hard PG-13 for some of these things. It might be the time. Like, it might be the time. And so that's the presentation. That's kind of everything. You know, it's not like literally everything. And there's no footage out there of it. There's no video of it out there. But we have the descriptions. They show footage for Captain America. People were impressed. I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But people were impressed that were there. And then you have the footage of Deadpool and Wolverine. I think Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be a huge hit. I think it's a big deal for Marvel fans. I think it's going to be something we really enjoy. But there's still a lot of questions, right? There's still a lot of questions for what comes next after Marvel. But for me as a fan, this presentation, it felt good. It felt like a little bit of return to form, a little bit of that Hall H San Diego Comic-Con energy, and I definitely was excited. So that's kind of the breakdown of it and the description of the footage. What do you think, chat? What do you think, chat? Is Marvel back? They certainly have taken a couple of steps up the ladder. I don't know that they're all the way back, but yeah, I think we're on our way. I think we're on our way. I have a feeling Cap Brave New World is going to be everything I hope it is. There's a part of me that wants to believe that. Look, let me say it to you this way. If I'm sitting in a theater watching Brave New World and it's way better than I thought, the action is some of the most mind-blowing shit I've seen in Marvel, the intrigue is great, and what they do with Sam is interesting, it fixes a lot of problems and concerns that I have. I think it's a very important movie for them. And I think that's why they're spending so much on it. I think that's why they delayed it again. I think that's kind of what they're doing. They're cooking, man. You know? So I think that's going to be a very big deal. A very big deal. Yeah. And Mackie has to deliver, for sure, for sure. Did you watch the presentation video? No, there's no video, bro. And the thing that's irritating about that is, like, a lot of the people that were there, because I follow a bunch of people that were there, right? What the fuck is this link? You Rick rolling me right now? Are you Rick rolling me right now? Oh shit, there is a video. I told you guys there was a video. I told you there was. It was better when I did it anyway. Shut up, Adam. God damn. It's the presentation, just not the footage. Yeah, so who cares then? Who cares? Yeah, but as I was saying, I think this one's really important. If they can nail Cap 4, like, we're good. Jennifer, thank you so much. That's very kind of a 20 spots. Very generous. Says, just wanted to show you some love and say I listen to you every day at work. I'm so excited for more lengthy streams. Thank you so much for all you do. Let's go. Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm happy with the change so far and the direction. We still have to, like, figure out the best way to do this so that we maximize views on the main channel. And I think it's just going to depend on the subject matter and how we sort of package it. I'll talk more about that on Sunday, but for all of you that like the streams, like, you don't got to worry about nothing. Like, long streams, lots of fun together, and a less grumpy Josh. That's where we're headed. That's where we're headed. All right, I'm shutting down the gambling. I'm shutting it down. It's off. It's off. I'm shutting it down. Okay? And give me 1 second. I gotta do a thing here. I gotta do a thing real quick. I gotta do a thing real quick. Should we just do acapella for the rest of I gotta do a thing real quick. Wait, the viewers are dropping. Wait, stop. Come back. Come back. I was just kidding. We're not doing that. Come back. We're not doing that. Oh, look. The Nerd Executive over on Twitch says, I've heard this all before. First of all, shut your mouth when you're talking to me, hillbilly. And also, yeah, fair point. Did you watch the Harrison Ford Thunderbolt Ross, though, Josh? Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look great. What do you want me to say? Like, what do you want me to say, brother? It doesn't look great. Okay. I don't know where the budget is for, like, the costumes and shit. But goddamn, does he not look? Hopefully they fix it in post, like we said, right? That's the move, right? Hopefully they fix it in post. C Black says 1 billion for Deadpool 3. I think so. I think so, man. Astronaut Way says, do you think they'll add Ghost Rider in any future Marvel movie? Ghost Rider and Wolverine team up are great in the comics. Yeah, I think they will. I think they're interested in doing that for sure. I'm just going to catch up on a couple of the soupies here, guys, and then I'll see what Rob is doing, and we'll give Rob a call. We'll talk some X-Men 97. Also, what's up with only 400 likes? I'm not trying to be that guy. But, like, what's up with only 400 likes? Can we just get, like, 100 more? I'm not even trying to be that greedy. Just 100 more smashes of the like button. Can we do that? Would that be okay? John Cross says, late to the stream, but let's do something about Out of the Ordinary and break down the UFC 300 card. It's stacked. And nobody calls me a simp. Nerd Adventures for life. Yeah, let's do it. Because you paid, now I get to do it. Let's do it. Let's go through the fights. Don't worry, we're going to get back to X-Men in a little bit. Jeez, you guys are so mean sometimes. Okay, check it out. Let's get into this. Let's talk about it. Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. I can't believe we're opening up with a fight like this. This is unbelievable. And, oh, by the way, dude. So, my cousin's coming into town tonight. He's staying to watch the fights tomorrow. We're so excited. Lucas C. at 100%. $300,000 fight bonuses. Somebody's going to die, dude. Somebody's going to die. Like, 300,000 fight bonuses? Can you imagine? Like, people are going to go back to their corner, and their corner's going to be like, look, don't brawl. You got to be focused. You got to do this, that, second, and third. And they're going to be in their head like, 300K, I go for blood. It's going to be fucking awesome, okay? I got to tell you, I like Figueiredo here. I think the odds are accurate. Cody's a hell of a fighter, so I don't know. You could see, I mean, it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be bad to take it here. Bobby Green and Jim Miller, man, I love both these guys. I love both of these guys, but the odds have it again, man. Bobby's going to take this fight. Especially now with that 300K. He's going wild. He's going wild. So I got Bobby in that fight. Andrade Rodriguez. I'm probably going to have to go with Andrade. I mean, again, I think the odds here have it. Andrade is just an absolute animal. I don't really know too much about... Oh, actually, they have it the other way. So the odds here have it the other way. So I'm kind of going against the odds here. I'm going to take Andrade on this one. Let's see here. Jalen Turner. I'm going with Jalen on this one. I think he needs to win a little bit more. I'm going to go with Jalen. And that's early prelims. That's 6 p.m. That's 6 p.m. Sitting back, eating food, having blinkers, having drinks at 6 p.m. tomorrow. We're getting a card that could be a fight night, potentially even a pay-per-view. Oh, my God. Amazing. Okay. Yusuf and Diego. I'm going to go with Diego. I think he's got it. Holy Home. Kayla Harrison. Dude, I think Kayla... And this is one of those things where it kind of feels like they're doing the journeyman thing and they're trying to sort of build Kayla off of Holly. I think there's a lot of hype around Kayla. They don't even have odds on this. That's wild. So maybe it's a push. I'm going to go with Kayla. I won't be mad either way, okay? Calvin Kattar, Aljo. I need to go with Aljo. I think Aljo's got a lot to prove. I think he wants to get back up to a title fight. I think we forget how good Aljo is because of what Sean did. Aljo is that guy. I think he's got it. Yuri, I got to go with Yuri. All due respect, but I got to go with Yuri, man. I need another match with him and Potan. I really like the dude. I like the samurai aesthetic. I like his style. Got to go with him. Bo Nickel. I'm going with Bo. Can you... I mean, look at this fight, dude. Plus 1,100? This guy has no fucking chance. And I know Bo was like a late addition to the card. I love Bo Nickel, dude. Maybe it's just because he's a Philly guy, but like, I like Bo Nickel. So I'm going to go with Bo on that, and it seems like the whole world is going with Bo. Charles Oliveira. Guys, there's so many fighters on here I fucking love. I love Charles Oliveira. Over the past couple of years, one of the most electric fighters I've ever seen. And I love his style, humbleness, but confidence. I love Charles Oliveira, man. I'm going with Oliveira, 100%. The real main event. The real main event for the BMF belt. We could talk about this for like an hour, bro. Who do you guys got in this one? Gage here or Max? Who do you guys got? Who you guys got on this one? Because we could legitimately talk about this for like a whole half hour, man. Ooh, it's tough, right? And you know, The real winner of this fight is us, the fans. And I bet both of them will get 300K. I think maybe before the 300K, I would have said max. And now I think I'm leaning a little bit more towards Gagey. I can't wait, dude. That's gonna be a good one. I like Wei Li. I'm gonna go with Wei Li here. Not really familiar with the other gal here, but I love Wei Li. I love her attitude. I love her style. She's very dominant. And then, I mean, I don't know why this one is so close. Like, look, respect to Jamal Hill, and I think he's doing a great job on the mic this go around, and he's doing a good job with like the antics and like selling the fight. But this, I mean, I'm surprised it's this close on the odds, to be honest with you. Right? Like, come on. What we 114? Why? Am I missing something? Like, it's Potan all day. It's Alex all day. Right? Jamal Hill beat the shit out of Glover? Yeah, for sure. I'm not saying he's not good, but like, dude, Potan... Alex just beat Francis Ngannou's record on the punch power machine by like 60,000. It's Potan all day. Okay, fine. We're done with it. Holy shit. No, we're still talking about this. And what's this? I got a super chat. I'm answering a super chat. Okay? Can I not answer a super chat? Holy shit. Let's see here. Mr. J. Westman says, real quick on Winter Soldier, that Fury is the GOAT version, not like the Fury of the Marvels, all silly and non-chill. Yeah, you're right about that one. Kendall says, Cap 4 needs to do for Sam what Winter Soldier did for Cap, because no one believes in Falcon American. But more importantly, Sam needs to win a fight for once. That's actually facts, bro. That's a good way to say it, too, because it's true. I think when Cap 1 first came out, I loved it. It didn't really do that well. And I think it's one of the lesser accepted Phase 1 movies. And then when they kind of refresh and go the Winter Soldier route, like it worked. That movie crushed, set the tone for a lot of things coming. So, yeah, I'd agree with you, man. I'd agree with you. Orange Grove 55 says, best live streams in the nerdy verse. Keep crushing it, Josh. Thanks, man. I really appreciate the support. Let's see here. Josh Power, thanks, brother, says, first time catching you live since the big scare Monday. Can't wait for this new era. Nerd Vengers for life. Appreciate you, brother. Science says, no spoilers. Do you like the Fallout show? So pumped for Deadpool 3. I feel like the stream after will be the best stream since No Way Home stream. I agree with you. I predict it to be pretty magical. I think it's going to be dope. Do I like the Fallout show? I really like the Fallout show. I will say more about the Fallout show after we talk with Rob, because I want to make a point about video game shows and stuff like that. But yeah, I really like that. Manga update. So I haven't been able to pitch to the creative director over at the publisher because he's been on vacation. So no update on the manga yet. Leon says, can't wait to watch more Fallout with my girl today. Dude, same. It's good stuff. GrizzlyCon says, yo, Josh, can't wait for tonight. What's up with TMNT Last Ronin? That's a great read. Oh, man, we're going to talk about it. Were you here earlier? Check this out, man. Check this out. The Last Ronin. And also, shout out to Nerd of the Rings. He got me this at San Diego Comic-Con. Signed by the boys. We'll talk more about that a little bit later. Okay, let me text Rob, see if he's good. Oh, I guess I could just hit him up on Discord. Okay, cool. Seems like he's good to go. Oh, he was good at 11. Damn. Screw it. Let's go over the slap, power slap card now. Yeah, I don't know about that, man. I'm not really into power slap. Definitely not my thing, power slap. Do you guys like power slap? Like, it's what's the competitive aspect of that? Whose face can swell up less? Like, for real, like what? Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Wow, I'm awake for once, Julian says over on Twitter. Hey, I appreciate you. All right, let's give Rob a call, guys. Let's get Rob a call, then we'll kind of like adjust the audio and everything, and then we'll get into it. Okay. I think we'll be okay here.
Yo, what's up, man?
What's up, man? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Can you hear me okay?
I got you loud and clear. Loud and clear. Chat, can you hear Rob, though? Rob, give me a little audio.
We'll find out.
Okay, I can see it on my end, actually. I think you're good. Okay.
Okay. I mean, I can turn my audio up if you need me to.
No, I think you're good, brother. I think you're good on that.
Okay. Cool. Chat says yes.
Chat says yes. Dope. So, dude, my first question to you is like, bro, are you serious about that Endgame take? And why? Why?
100% I'm serious about the Endgame take. Look, I'm going to deal out one of the most controversial opinions in recent memory about the MCU.
Uh-oh. Okay. Let's go.
Avengers Endgame was not that great. It was just really, really epic. It just had a lot of, like, it was a movie that had, like, it was walking into a city with a lot of bright lights, right? Like, a lot of things happened, right? But in terms of just like, wow, like, damn, this is devastating. Yeah, like, I would definitely take X-Men 97 episode 5, man. Like, absolutely. Man.
So that's wild. Yeah. But what about Infinity War? Because, like, I see what you're saying, because to me, Infinity War is a better movie, but Endgame is a better ending. Like, Endgame does a great job wrapping up a lot of stuff, taking us through, you know, the time heist nostalgia thing. So I felt like it was a very effective movie. I think I see what you're saying. What about Infinity War?
Yeah, okay. No, I'd give it to Infinity War. Like, I mean, if I'm ranking them, right, I would say the ending to Infinity War, the ending of X-Men 97 episode 5, the ending of Endgame. Because Infinity War was dramatic, man, because like the bad guy won. And we all knew he was going to, but it didn't take away from the fact that it was just like ridiculously emotional. Like, people are just like vanishing. Like, everybody except for the core Avengers. It's just like, holy cow. Like, yeah. So I would say Infinity War 97 episode 5 and then Endgame.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. But you know, the whole thing about 97 right now is, I think, you know, especially given where Marvel is currently at, it's so epic and it's so good that a lot of people are, you know, having similar opinions to you and really gassing the show up. And, you know, you've got people saying it's better than anything Marvel's done in a long time, and stuff like that. And obviously you're feeling the same. And as a big X-Men guy and as somebody that was a fan of the show before, like, how are you feeling about the show? And how are you feeling as a Marvel fan? Like, how are you making sense of this thing real good, everything else kind of not? Like, what's your take on that?
Honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of X-Men 97.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just messing around. No. I'm messing around. Okay. I adore X-Men 97, dude. I love X-Men 97. I don't know that I would say it's better than the original X-Men the animated series. And I don't even say that because of like nostalgia, right? I mean, X-Men the animated series, it'll always be my favorite, you know, comic book cartoon show. It's the one that got me into comics back in the day. But I think that this show does everything that made X-Men the animated series great, but it feels more polished and professional.
Yeah.
if that makes sense, right? Because by all standards of measurement, I mean, if you go back and you look at how X-Men the animated series was done, it was basically an indie project, right? That's why you have like the voice, the actress for Jean Grey, who's like voicing over reporters and stuff like that.
Sure.
And they
Yeah.
brought a lot of that stuff over, right? They kept a lot of those things there, but the animation feels more polished and it feels more professional. The show hits harder.
Yeah.
That I will say, the show hits harder, and it's clear that X-Men '97 is drawing from a much bigger pool of content than X-Men the animated series, and it makes perfect sense because
Yep.
I've seen people on Twitter who were just like, you know, why couldn't X-Men the animated series do this? Well, because if you look back at Chris Claremont's run, and it's one of these things that people tend to kind of forget. If you look back at Chris Claremont's run, there's like 3 or 4 great stories, right? And
Yep.
like that's it. Everything else is just character development, right? Like there was no story arc. There's no like 6-issue story about the love triangle between Jean Grey and Wolverine and Cyclops. It was just a consistent undercurrent.
Sure.
There was no like 6-issue story arc on Project Wide Awake or anything along those lines. Right, you got the Phoenix sagas, then you got a whole bunch of stories in between. Then you got the Dark Phoenix saga, right? And you get, what is it, Uncanny X-Men 200. Cyclops quits, Uncanny X-Men 201. He fights Storm. So, well, I guess technically it's the other way around, right? But basically, like he fights Storm for leadership of the X-Men. She takes over leadership of the X-Men, right? She wins, which I think was an Uncanny X-Men 201. And then like Cyclops walks away. Right. Then you go into like X Factor, you know, some number of years later, where he abandons his family and goes back to Jean. But there's only like a handful of stories. The funny thing is, if you go and you look at X-Men the animated series, pretty much all the stories with Apocalypse are all from X Factor.
Right.
Right. Those are all X Factor stories. Yeah, because Apocalypse, like he was a character introduced in issue number 4, I think, is like a silhouette at the end of the comic, and then issue number 5 is when you get his first like full-on appearance.
Yeah.
And then you get Fall of the Mutants, which is basically when Archangel or Angel becomes Archangel and he's like the Horseman Death and that whole thing. But that's
Yeah.
all X Factor stuff. Whereas it's been how many years since X-Men the animated series? Right? There's the whole of the 1990s that came
Yep.
after the original series. There's arguably, I would say, the greatest era of the X-Men, which was in the mid 2000s, right? For like during the whole Joe Quesada era running up to the Heroic Age. I still say that's probably the greatest point to be an X-Men fan because there was so much that was happening, and I think it was way better than Chris Claremont's run, but only because of Claremont's run was it that good in the first
Sure.
place.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, to your point, right? To answer the question, yeah, I absolutely adore X-Men '97. Like it's doing everything right,
Yeah.
which I think is shown by just like social media. Because you made a really good point earlier, right? Like there are people who all they knew about the X-Men was just like Hugh Jackman and
Exactly.
what's her name is Storm, Halle Berry is Storm, you
Right.
know, and what happens when a frog gets struck by lightning? All those
Yeah.
stupid lines.
Bryan
and
Singer,
Storm.
bro. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's all they know, right? But then like now they're being introduced to like the Magneto that we've always known, right? Like the Magneto that gets killed by Thanos' uncle, but before he dies, he stays alive just long enough by using his powers to move the iron through his body.
Yep.
Because his heart was blown out of his chest and like basically makes his blood pump with it like under his own effort, right? Under his own power.
Yeah.
He eventually dies and Storm goes to the afterlife and resurrects him from the dead, right? I mean, it's the Magneto where like he has all those humans gathered together and he's like, you have new gods now, right? Like
Yeah.
we as mutants, we are your gods now, right? And it's the Magneto from Fatal Attractions, and it is the Magneto from the one that kind of saw the error of his villainous ways. But yeah, like it's all these fans being introduced to like what the X-Men really are,
Right.
which is just a ridiculously dope ass line of comics
Yeah.
that the Fox movies never really did right.
Yeah. No, there's a lot there. I mean, I kind of agree with you about Claremont. It's funny because we recently went back. We have like a comic book club, and so we read some Claremont. It's
Wait, what? You have a comic book club?
Yeah, a comic
Bruh.
book club. Yeah, no, I know. We do,
Bro.
we do it like every month. It's for the members. It's we put it like kind of behind there. But one of the things we did, and for me was,
That's dope.
it's fun. It's fun. It was a little tough for me though, going back to Claremont and actually reading through like Dark Phoenix and reading through God Loves, Man Kills.
Yes.
It's a little dated. I kind of think of it as it's a bridge between like what Stan and Jack were doing to what eventually happens with Claremont later with Jim Lee, and then other people take forward and go crazy with it, where you've got thought bubbles, you've got kind of exposition that's meant to do what you could do on 4 pages in 1 page, which is something that Kirby was really great at. So I respect it, and I think there's some pages in those runs that like blow you away and are like, okay, I get it. Like I can't imagine what it would be like picking that up at the time and just being like, wow, this is unlike anything I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, it's a little dated. And then what you have is you have other artists and writers that, you know, Claremont stuff hit a little different back then. And then they take the flavor of those relationships, those characters, and build upon it. So you definitely have the wider net, which you're right, they just didn't have back then. They just didn't have it back then. No. You know, they were pulling from those X Factors. Was that Jay Lee stuff too, by the way? I'm kind of like remembering like a lot of stuff with like Strife and Apocalypse and Cable, and it was like all I love the way Jay Lee drew all that stuff back then. I know he gets shit on, but I actually like Jay Lee. But regardless,
you're talking about Jim Lee.
No, I'm talking about Jay Lee. Like Jim Lee for sure. He did a lot of that stuff too, but Jay Lee was
When did Jay Lee ever draw X Factor back in the 90s?
I'm telling you, I remember, I mean, maybe it wasn't, like maybe it was Jim Lee actually. But like I just remember Jay Lee versions of Strife and of Apocalypse and of Cable. I'm pretty sure it was Jay Lee.
No, you were right, man. X Factor number 80 back in 1993. Jay Lee was no way.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I just know because...
Dude, I did not know that. No, I mean, his art looks janky as hell.
Yeah, but well, like, I liked it. That's why I knew it was Jay Lee, because, like, I kind of had an affinity for his art. I even like his Spider-Man. He did, like, a 6-issue Spider-Man run, too.
Dude, I never knew Jay Lee drew X-Factor. My introduction to Jay Lee was the old Paul Jenkins and, like, the Century run from back in 2000. Well, technically it was Inhumans first, but nobody cares about the Inhumans. It was the Century run. From like back in 2000.
Yeah,
dude, I had no idea that Jay Lee drew those.
Yeah, no, he had a certain he did those characters. Here's why I think you maybe didn't know. He actually like kind of did pretty well with those characters. They had a design that I think worked well with his aesthetic. You know what I mean? But yeah. So point being though, they had that in the 90s that they could add to the Claremont stuff, right? But they didn't have what came next. So I think that's a totally fair point. It's like, we just have way more now, and they're distilling it down using the archetypes of the characters and doing it really well. So, I mean, I got basically 2 more questions for you, but the next one is like, again, what do you think Marvel Studios needs to take away from this? Because it's awesome, bro. And like, you know, you're out here saying that it's better than Endgame. You're not the only one. There's other people. People are very excited about this. So
So you made a good point earlier, except for one thing you said. Okay. You mentioned earlier that the Halo show was bad. No. Halo season 1 was trash because it was made by people who didn't care about the show. Have you seen season 2?
Nah.
Bro, Halo season 2 is phenomenal. I didn't even watch season 1. I had breakfast with Benny over at Comic Storian, like I don't know, this maybe like a month ago or so. And he and I were just like kind of hanging out and shooting the shit and whatnot. And I was talking about wanting to get into Halo, and I had like watched the first episode. He was like, skip season 1. He's like, you already know the Halo mythos, so you don't really need all that stuff. He was like, skip season 1. He's like, go watch season 2. Yeah. Dude, I fell in love with season 2. I was like, dude, season 2 is so good.
That's interesting.
I adore it.
That's interesting. I'll have to check that out.
You made a really, really good point earlier, where you said that having guys like Bo DeMaio and having people that like love the source material being the ones to create the show, and the idea that like Bo DeMaio was like, nobody can be on the writing staff who was not a fan of the original series. Yeah, like that's exactly it, dude. You guys in the chat are nuts if you think season 2 is bad. Dude, okay. You guys, like, you know what? You guys are wrong, and let me tell you why you're wrong. Right? Like Halo, like as a person who is a casual Halo fan, like it had everything I wanted in that season. I won't make this super long, but it had everything I wanted in that season. Right? It had like, well, I'm not going to spoil anything for Josh, but like
I've seen
as
some
a casual
of it
Halo
that looks
fan,
cool.
like,
I think the elites and some stuff looked pretty cool from what I saw.
Oh, dude, it's really, really good. They're saying it's not good because they don't know any better. But yeah, no.
Chat's wild, bro. Trust me, they disagree with me all the time, and they're always wrong when they do. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna piss off. Which, by the way, before I bounce off here, I do want to talk to you about Unity.
Yeah, hit me.
Like, I do. Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah,
at some
yeah.
point. But, no. Yeah. So the fact that Bo DeMaio and those guys were like, no one can work on the show who's not a fan of the original like X-Men the animated series, I think is really, really, really good. Like, I think it's a really, really good call on their behalf because there is a kind of difference between a person who writes a story and is like, I mean, it's a story that I write, versus a person who's just like, I love the original source material and like I want it to be reflected there. You do feel the difference,
Yeah,
and I
man.
think that I don't really like to get into like the politics of comic book shows and movies and things like that, but like in a lot of the more recent MCU projects, you didn't really feel that.
Right.
Comic books in general as a medium have always existed to communicate a message, right? And people have seen those discussions, and there's ample quotes from Stan Lee where he's just like, yeah, and that kind of thing. But
Oh yeah,
the fact
he was
is,
big
like,
on it for sure.
yeah, like comics and things like that always existed as a medium to communicate a message to the audience. Spider-Man is probably the best example of that.
Yeah.
But the more important thing here is, in a lot of ways, it maybe felt a little heavy-handed. I'm not entirely sure. But to craft a show with the X-Men that is a show about a group out there that deals with all manner of what's the word I'm trying to use?
It's social issues.
All manner of like,
I mean, it just
yeah,
is.
social issues, oppression, yeah,
100%.
things like that. Yeah, like to craft that narrative in such a way, like I could pull any number of historical situations just from the United States and apply it to what just happened in Genosha.
Sure.
I could do it in any number of ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? In any number of ways. The Red Summer of 1924, things that happened in Tulsa,
Yep.
World War II and the Japanese in the States. I mean, you could do any number of things there.
The
And that's
club
what really
in Florida, Paul's.
the club in Florida. Yeah. Just a group of people who are trying to live their lives and are just attacked. Now, I'm pretty sure I know who it was that launched the attack, and it's not who I thought it was because I actually had to dig some super
okay.
old comic out of my memory banks. Yeah, I had to go digging through the old memory banks, man.
Let's go.
Like
dude.
I had to dive in to like
I'm
this.
excited.
I'd like go through my head and like shuffle through these long boxes from like 20 years ago to like figure out what in the world was going on.
That's good.
But yeah, like overall, X-Men is a story where I feel like X-Men 97, to be quite frank, yes, Chris Claremont's run was very, very slow, right? It was like a soap opera. John Byrne hated, drawing for Chris Claremont, and one of the things that he said was that Chris Claremont's favorite, like his ideal comic book would be all the X-Men just wearing normal clothes, sitting in a living room, having a conversation, right?
Yep.
So like, it's a very, very slow run when you read Claremont.
Yeah.
But the character development is what drove everything. And this show is nothing if not a show that focuses on character development. It's felt in the first 4 issues or the first 4 episodes because it feels kind of slow until they introduce Adversary at the end of episode 4. And I was like, awesome. So we're getting Fall of the Mutants. And I was super excited, right?
Yeah.
I was like, cool, this is how the X-Men die. But once you go into, once you get past that, and especially when you go into episode 5, and now like they've set the stage, quote unquote, and now we just get to see everything pop off. And it's just so great. Like it's just so phenomenal, man.
So
like,
do you think
I adore
do
it.
you think that Marvel just with live action, are they getting too far away from the source material? Like what?
No, I mean, there's some things you can do with animation that you just cannot do with live action.
Okay.
Right. It's any combination of things, that you can get away with. Characters can move easily. You can.
Yeah.
I mean, animated characters don't age.
That's true.
Right. And I
Yeah.
think on some level, that's kind of a part of what we as the audience wrestle with. Right. Which I think really hit home in the aftermath of Infinity War when Robert Downey Jr. walked away.
Yeah.
Sure, the public statement was like his contract is up and he's ready to move on to other projects. But there was the part of us that knew he couldn't play Tony Stark forever because he's going to get old, too
Yeah.
old to act. And he's going to retire, and that's going to be it. So it's just kind of this thing that we sort of recognize as an undercurrent. But with animation, you never have to worry about that. And so
Sure.
it makes it a lot easier for us to become attached to the characters because we know they're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
In
Yeah.
50 years, yeah, in 50 years, Magneto in X-Men, whatever it happens to be, 20 whatever, 2074, right? If that's what they want to do, X-Men 74, right? If they decide to do that, he will look just like he does right now.
Yeah,
And
that's
so it
true.
makes it a lot easier for people to latch on to the characters and to latch on what's happening with the characters because there's no fear
Mm.
about the fact that they're going to lose it.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's
Yeah,
like an aspect of comics that live action just can't do. So yeah, that's
yeah,
a good point. Is that you get different takes and you get redesigns, but there's always the ability to do a callback to something or even just design in a way that feels nostalgic. And I mean, we all love Wolverine. He's had his costume changed up a lot, but it's always Wolverine. You know what I mean? And it always feels like Wolverine. So yeah, I think that's kind of
yeah.
interesting for sure.
Joe, I am not eating a sandwich. Well, I don't know where he got the idea that I was eating a sandwich.
I
I
don't
put my
know.
glasses down on the table for a second, but I'm not
Yeah,
eating a
no, maybe
sandwich.
that's what he heard.
Although a sandwich does sound fantastic. But I
It
mean,
does
that's
sound
why I
pretty
say
good.
there's a lot of things that feed into why X-Men 97 is so popular. Like I was talking to a buddy of mine, Victor, right? He's a comic creator, which I want to connect you guys at some point, you
Oh
and
yeah,
Victor.
that would be good.
But he's a comic creator. And one of the things that he said when the first two episodes came out is he took it back to his Saturday morning, like you did, like I did, like so many
Mhm.
of us who grew up watching X-Men the animated series did, where you're just like sitting in your living room with a bowl of cereal, watching this cartoon show that you love. And there's a simplicity in that,
Yeah.
right? And so I think for those of us who grew up watching this show from I'm sorry, those of us who grew up watching X-Men the animated series, we watched X-Men 97 and it takes us back to 30 years ago when life just felt so much simpler. There's a kind of nostalgia that
100%.
feeds
Yeah.
into that. For me, it hits that way.
It hits
For
hard for
newer
me.
fans,
Oh, so bad. Yeah, so good.
yeah, it hits so hard, right? And like for newer fans, there is a kind of simplicity that comes with animation because animation indicates fantasy,
Mm.
right? It's not real. And so because of that, you can suspend the world around you for an hour, 45 minutes or whatever. You can watch the show and then snap back to reality. Whereas with live action movies, it could be happening out there right now. And while
Yeah.
that's not a bad thing, especially when they focus more on fantasy than reality, that can kind of complicate problems if you're the kind of person that goes to see live action comic book movies and you want to see an escape from reality. But what they're showing you is reality. Then you're just kind of like, well, then why am I here? Right. And then you just
Yeah, that's kind of
you
interesting.
you get pissed off and leave.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah.
kind of speaks a little bit, because you were saying earlier, you were like, we were kind of like talking a little bit about the political situation and whether or not some of it's just a little bit too on the nose. But I think it's maybe more what you're saying right now, where it's like any attempt to bring real world elements or to connect it to reality as we know it is maybe just running counter to what we want. It's maybe not even so much about the messaging. It's more like, can the messaging still exist in an escapist, different universe? Can I still just be transported and not have to be reminded of all of these different things that are going on? It's kind of ironic. I'll throw this really wild example. I was just watching a video from Alan Moore, and he's talking about
Mm.
writing. Okay, by the way, great videos, guys. They just came out on like the BBC. Really interesting stuff. But Alan is a guy who does deconstruct and put a lot of political viewpoints into his material, right?
Yes.
Like that's just
He
obvious.
really does.
He does. But he also
Yeah.
believes in escapism. Like if you hear what he's talking about, he talks about how he literally says both writing and reading or experiencing the story is a way to leave this world behind and go to a different
Yes.
world. So he's the kind of guy that thinks perspective is important, and he thinks you have to have a viewpoint as a writer. It allows you a lens by which you can see the world and distill these things. But it still has to be escapism. And maybe that's just the thing that a lot of these modern writers aren't getting, especially if they don't love the material. If they've never been transported themselves, right, to that other world, then maybe they just lack the understanding of how to do that, or they lack the understanding of why that's so important, I think that
Yeah.
could potentially be one of the problems that we're really running into. But the last thing I want to ask you about this, bro, is Who the hell attacked Genosha? What the hell's going on right now?
Okay, so a part of me wanted to believe it was Cassandra Nova,
Right.
right? Because literally what happened in Genosha is exactly what happened in ES4 Extinction. The Sentinel that attacked, because my initial thought when I saw it, I was like, is this the Tri-Sentinel from like Acts of Vengeance? Right? Like, and then it's like, no way they're gonna bring in Loki. That's ridiculous. Right. Especially because the X-Men, the animated series is separate from the rest of the MCU, right? Like that's what Marvel said, right? It's in its own universe, essentially. And so I was watching the episode with Mariah, right? And I'm just like freaking out, right? I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so excited and I can't wait. I'm just like losing my shit. And I'm just like, oh my God, it's gotta be Cassandra Nova. And I was so caught up that I never realized there was a point where Cable said he is coming. Right now, the fact that Cable recognized who it is, the fact that Cable was snapped back, he said, not again, right? Cable's tried this multiple times, and every time it plays out the same way, right? So there's something that Cable's doing wrong there, which I imagine is a whole different plot thread within the show itself. Yeah. But in terms of Cable, when he says he is coming, it means it can only be one of two people. The first one would be Strife, which is entirely possible.
Which would be
Strife
awesome. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it would be dope. Oh, it would be so dope if it were Strife. Technically, in stories like Age of Apocalypse, Apocalypse himself did use Sentinels, but it's not really his style. Right. Like, if Apocalypse are going to attack Genosha for the purpose of testing, the mutant population to see who's worthy, it'd be the Horsemen. Yeah, you just see like 4 dudes, right, just like roll into the place and start attacking everybody. Right. And then it'll be like, okay, cool. So like the 4 Horsemen are here. Dope. Apocalypse is like in the next episode, right? Like that'd be really, really cool. But there is a comic called oh my God, I want to say it's like Cable Machine Man or something like that. Anyway, it's from no, I'm sorry, it's Bastion Machine Man. Machine Man Bastion is what it is, actually. Okay. From 1998. And it focuses on the character of Bastion. And it just kind of explains everything with his character. Like, it's just this kind of big tell-all comic. Are you familiar with Bastion?
No, I can't say that I am, no.
Bro, Bastion is dope. And when I tell you this, you're going to be like, it's 100% Bastion. Okay. Right? If it's not Bastion, if it's not Bastion, I'll give $1,000 to a fan randomly.
Oh shit!
Right, like
okay.
you heard it here on the stream, guys. You heard it here on the stream.
I'm clipping it
right?
out.
I will make that promise right now. If it's not Bastion next week, then I will give $1,000 to a fan.
Well, give yourself the rest of the season because they might not explain it next week. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Well, that's that. Yeah, if the Bastion's not the main bad guy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What's the name of the last 3 episodes? The 3-part ending to X-Men 97.
I don't know. I know they're out there somewhere, but I can't recall.
Supposedly the names of the episodes is Tolerance is Extinction. In Marvel Comics, there is a story in the late 1990s called Operation Zero Tolerance. Operation Zero Tolerance was a story that focused on the return of Bastion, and that's why the Bastion Machine Man story is so important. The way this worked out, right? You remember Nimrod from Days of Future Past?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so Nimrod from Days of Future Past, once Rachel Summers and Kitty Pryde do their magic and voodoo and all that kind of stuff, right, they prevent the future from happening. But in order to avoid a paradox, Marvel just says Days of Future Past is now an alternate reality. What that means is for Rachel Summers, so those of you guys who don't know who she is, Rachel Summers is the daughter of Jean Grey and Cyclops from Days of Future Past, that she travels back to the modern day to understand why her future didn't change. Nimrod follows her back, and Nimrod basically gets stuck inside in the present era. Nimrod floats around, he has his own story arc. Eventually he comes across Master Mold in like Uncanny X-Men 247. It's either 247 or 274. I always get them reversed. Nimrod and Master Mold merge, right? Now it happens for a split second, and because the X-Men realize they can't defeat them, they push them through the Siege Perilous. Why does that matter? Because in Marvel Comics, there was a story where Forge and Storm faced off against the adversary, the character that you saw introduced at the end of episode 4.
Like owl-looking dude.
Exactly. In order to defeat the adversary, quote-unquote, the X-Men supposedly die. Anyway, they're given the Siege Perilous, which if you pass through it, restarts your life. And that's what the merged Master Mold and Nimrod do. They're pushed through the Siege Perilous by the X-Men, and they just vanish. Whoa. Now, at a future point in time, they end up popping back up. But in the what is it, Bastion Machine Man comic, it explains that Bastion didn't initially know who he was. He just woke up, right? And he was effectively just like a regular person. The machine components had been removed, but his programming was still intact. So even though he was taken in by a woman, he was watching the news of like the mutant threat and what is it? Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, whatever the case happens to be. And he started to believe that mutants were a credible threat. Then his programming kicks in, right? Because Master Mold and Nimrod were anti-mutant sentinels.
Right.
When that happens, what he starts doing is allying himself with governmental agencies, different groups out there, and then giving them information of advanced technology from the future, since Nimrod's from the future. Now, in X-Men 97, we never learn how it is that the Friends of Humanity are able to reverse engineer Sentinel technology.
True. Yeah.
One of the groups that Bastion worked with was the Friends of Humanity, led by Graydon Creed. So in that comic, right, like that kind of explains what his involvement is with all these different, groups and so on. I doubt it's Cameron Hodge. It would be dope. Like I loved Extinction Agenda, but the Phalanx are going to have anything to do with this. So in effect, Bastion was just working behind the scenes, allying himself with everybody, and then that's when Operation Zero Tolerance happened. He created the OZT Sentinels and all that kind of stuff, more advanced Sentinels than the ones they had faced off against before. And it would make perfect sense that if you have Bastion working behind the scenes, that Bastion is the reason why the Wild Sentinels exist.
Yeah.
Right? Because the Wild Sentinels were just designed by Oliver Trask.
But they don't stand a chance then, right? How would they even beat him?
Okay, so here's the kicker. This is where things get wild and murky. In Marvel Comics, which I'm sure you've heard of it, there's a story called Messiah War.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So not Messiah Complex for you fans out there, but Messiah War. Messiah War is a story that deals with the return of Bastion after Operation Zero Tolerance. But unlike Zero Tolerance, where he was just running around in the modern era, striking against the X-Men and all these different groups, in Messiah War, he's in the future. And he's sending like Sentinels to the past.
Oh,
he's just
damn.
like the way that Ultron took over Vision in the modern day, like in the Age of Ultron storyline, it's the same thing.
Right.
So Bastion's in the far-flung future. Yeah, like Bastion's in the far-flung future. He's sending Sentinels and everything, back to the past. And basically, he is launching an attack. Ultimately, the story culminates with like Cable sacrificing his life in order to close the time portal and to defeat Bastion and so on and so forth.
So they just isolate him in a different timeline?
More or less, yeah. Like they cut him off, from the present day. I mean, he's destroyed.
Yeah.
But like they cut him off to the present day. But yeah, I say all that to say what's likely happening here is it's Bastion who's allied himself with all these different anti-mutant organizations, Friends of Humanity, any others that we haven't seen yet. I would argue things like Project Wide Awake probably exist. That Project Wide Awake was the umbrella kind of program that Forge was a part of when he was developing like the inhibitor collars and stuff like that for the U.S. government. Yeah, so that was
in
all
his
probably
penthouse in New York, which they totally
in his penthouse in New York.
That, yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I always loved Eagle Plaza out there in Dallas. Like that was just it. Like it just looked cool.
Yeah,
back when like Mark Silvestri and those guys were drawing it. But the fact remains here. Yeah, so
do you think they'll leave it off on like a cliffhanger? Maybe like they'll do all that and leave us hopeless, and then we go into season 2 and we're like, how could they possibly beat them?
I don't know, man. I really don't know, because I mean, it's not like X-Men the Animated Series where it all just kind of wraps up.
Correct.
Yeah, it's seasons, but it's like seasons.
They can do whatever they want, bro. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, like I mean, if you remember back in the day, like X-Men the Animated Series, they didn't really release it in seasons. They released like 60 episodes.
Yeah, chunks.
Right? Like it was just for like 60 weeks, you just get X-Men the Animated Series, and then like they stop for like 5 months, and then you get more, right? Or something along those lines. But yeah, I don't know exactly. Given this day and age and the idea of cliffhangers, how popular the show does, I could see them definitely leaving it on a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
That being said, I think that because supposedly the next episode, if the titles are correct, the next episode is going to go back to Storm and Forge.
Sure. Yep.
So one of two things is going to happen. Because of the fact that you have like the whole tolerance thing, I think the next episode is going to focus exclusively on Forge and Storm, and that's going to be it. I think Storm might learn about what happened in Genosha, but she's gonna have to stay with Forge in order to defeat the adversary because it's a much bigger threat.
Sure.
Or
Yeah.
she's just so immersed in what's going on with the adversary that like she won't know about it until like the end of the episode.
Right.
I think the episode after that is when like Cable will come back or something will happen, but they'll basically like end up encountering Cable, and Cable's going to explain everything that's going on. And then the last two episodes will be, okay, how do we beat this guy? How do we save the day? You know, that kind of a thing. It's just, I'm just kind of swinging for the fences.
Yeah,
but,
I hope they
like,
do too, because you know, like you said, they have all of this. They can go absolutely as crazy as they want, and the writing's been super tight. So I'm ready for them to go. It's not like I'm afraid that they'll lose the threads. Like this has been one of the tightest written things I've ever seen. Let me ask you about Captain America. What's up with Cap? Because we see his shield in the new trailer.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he'll cross over. Maybe he won't. And that's what's kind of wonky is because it's supposed to be self-contained. At least that's what we've been told so far.
Correct. Yeah.
So I don't necessarily know if that's going to be the case. I mean, honestly, maybe it's one of those things where it's like, okay, guys, like, so we're doing X-Men 97. It's going to be totally self-contained. And then Kevin Feige's like, but what if it wasn't?
Yeah.
Like, what if we just like have Captain America?
Well, I think
in the show?
You know, Cap's been in the old one, and then they did the Secret Wars, right, where they had all the different shows, and even the Iron Man, and they all crossed over. Actually, it was Rhodey, it wasn't Iron Man, but I think they can still make it self-contained. It's not in 616. I think you can still do Avengers, you know? But if you do Avengers, especially if you're doing it right now in the wake of Genosha, I mean, it could go all sorts of ways. You know what I mean? And like you're talking about war and stuff. And it's either, if it's that big of a threat, are the Avengers teaming up? Are they teaming against? You know, are we getting a little AVX flavor, I mean, you know?
The X-Men fought the Avengers in the old X-Men the animated series. Like the old animated series back in the day.
Yeah.
Not the one where Captain America shows up.
Yeah.
But like there's an episode called One Man's Worth.
Okay.
Actually it's a 2-part episode. If you ever get a chance, go back and watch it.
Yeah.
But the first episode is what I'm talking about. Yeah, where like everything what is it? Xavier is killed off premature. Like he's killed off when he's young. Yeah. Trevor Fitzroy and Bantam go back in time. They kill Xavier when he's younger. So Xavier never forms the X-Men. So reality shifts around. And instead of it being the Xavier Institute, it's technically there, but it's just a giant war going on between humans and the mutant population. So you have like Gambit and Sinister and all these guys who are all like fighting against humanity. There's a point where Beast says that they send in another wave of superhumans. And when that happens, like Black Widow's there, Hank Pym, Ant-Man is there. Like there's normal people who are like the Avengers traditionally who are there.
I say go Tony for it, bro.
Iron Man
I hope they go for it. Like, cause I mean, this is just so cool. And I think it's like what Marvel used to feel like the MCU. And it's a nice reprieve from that. And because it doesn't have to worry about connecting to the live action stuff, they can go as crazy as they want. They could combine Avengers vs. X-Men, Phoenix 5 with all the crazy shit you're talking about. Like they could just go, they could do whatever they want. So yeah, I'm excited. But that's your pick is Batch. Let me just ask you one more thing. Where does Sinister fit into all of this? Because I don't think we're done with Sinister. I think there's more to it. So how does he fit in?
Honestly, I don't know. If I were going to say Sinister fits into this, season 1 is probably Bastion. Given the name of the titles of the final episodes, it's going to be Operation Zero Tolerance. They're going to defeat Bastion. If they were going to end the show on a cliffhanger, they would probably end it with Strife. And the reason why I say that is technically in the comics, it was actually Apocalypse who kidnapped Nathan Summers as a baby and infected him with a techno-organic virus.
Yes.
And then for reasons I'll never understand, Cyclops decided it was a good idea to ally himself with the Inhumans, like Black Bolt was going to do anything.
Yeah, let's go Black Bolt!
Over and, like they race over and they fight Apocalypse. But ultimately, like Nathan's saved and like taken to the future. They obviously haven't done that here. So what I would say is probably the case is that Sinister infected Nathan with a techno-organic virus. Nathan gets taken to the future. And whether it's Sinister or somebody else, but likely Sinister, what they end up doing, or whoever it is that I guess Bishop taking him into the future, that in case they cannot cure the legacy virus, they clone Cable, which is what they did with Strife.
Right.
Right. In the comics, when Strife was taken to the future by Rachel, it was like, okay, in case we can't cure him, we're going to clone him. And that clone will just kind of sit there in stasis. And if baby Nathan dies, then we resurrect, we wake up the clone and we basically take all the memories of Nathan, put it in the clone's head, and then the clone goes forward from there.
Strife's so strong,
in the comics,
too, dude. I love Strife.
Yeah. Yeah, like in the comics, Apocalypse realized the clone was there, 4,000 years in the future, whatever it is. He kidnaps the clone thinking it's the real Cable and raises it as his own, and the clone becomes Strife. So that's likely what would happen here, because we know that Sinister wanted Cable. He wanted Nathan because of how powerful Nathan would become. And there have been different motivations over the years as to why Sinister wanted to do that, getting rid of Apocalypse or just the power of that kind of kid and all the stuff that comes with it. But whatever the reason is, if Sinister exists in the far-flung future, 4,000 years in the future or whatever it is, then sure, it would make perfect sense that he would just like kidnap the clone thinking it's the real Cable, and then he raises the clone as his own, Strife, and then Strife shows up in the present day after learning that he's not actually Cable, and it's like, well, I hate Cable and I'm going to destroy the X-Men, and that's it. Because that's all Strife's motivation was in the comics, right? Like, I'm going to destroy Cable because I'm going to prove I'm more powerful than Cable. I'm not the clone, that kind of thing. It was a personal vendetta. But I would say that's probably where Sinister will fit in. Because in reality, given everything that's happened, especially with Madeline, Nathan, and all that kind of stuff, you could kind of just wrap. I mean, that's the wrap.
Yeah,
of,
no,
like,
you're right.
Sinister's
They could just
motivation.
rap.
It's
I
done.
mean, they absolutely could.
Yeah.
It just felt like, I don't know. Like, there's another side of this that I'm trying to like use my MCU brain too, right? Because you and I were talking about this. We were texting yesterday, but like Cassandra Nova is in Deadpool 3, so there is part of me that's like, well, it would kind of make sense to set her up so that people are like, oh, it's that character, right? And then the same with Sinister. Like, there's a lot of rumors that Sinister is going to be the sort of main villain for the 616 X-Men once that gets kicked off. So part of my like producer brain is like, well, that would make sense. But I think you're right, especially with the ending being titled that. I think that's a pretty clear indication that that's the way that they're going to go. So
That's why I say, I mean, it would make a lot of sense to me that it would. Why are people saying I'm in the bathtub?
I think there was a moment, there was a little echo. You might have, I don't know. You were like walking or doing something. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm my room doesn't have any sound treatment here, so that's probably why. But yeah, no, it would make sense. I mean, I wanted to be Cassandra Nova because she is going to be in Deadpool 3, so make it Cassandra Nova in order to build up all the excitement for the fan base. But at the same time, Cassandra Nova doesn't usually work with groups.
Yeah.
That never happens with a character. You don't really see Cassandra Nova allied. It's not like Strife, Cassandra Nova, Apocalypse, Sinister, Bastion, and Graydon Creed were all teaming up to destroy the X-Men. It doesn't really happen because she's just so powerful. She doesn't really have to. But then again, you can change anything around here. So
we'll see.
There's a lot that
we'll see. They're cooking, baby. You know what I mean? They are cooking with the show either way. And I'm excited for the end of it. I'm excited for season 2, and I'm excited for potential season 3 and maybe animated Spider-Man as well. They got a lot of things they can do over there. So it's a bright spot in what's going on with Marvel lately. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm really, really excited. Like this is the most excited I've been for the X-Men in I don't even know how long, in years and years and years and years. And it just excites me that fans are getting on to the X-Men in a way that they just never had before. Because for all you guys out there, man, the X-Men, you're in my wheelhouse now. So it's
dude, exactly.
Yeah, man. X-Men are my jam.
It's good stuff. Well, before I get you out of here, you want to give us a little of your thoughts on Unity, the first chapter?
Yeah. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. I will say, up until the very end, it did kind of leave me like a little confused. I was like, okay, like what in the world's going on here?
Yeah.
Right. But I can't remember that guy's name, but when you have like the guy who is, well, I won't spoil anything for people who haven't read it yet, but when you get the big reveal at the end.
Yes.
Right. Then it puts everything into context.
Right.
Which I loved. I do love that. Like, I love stories like that. That it puts everything into context and it's like, oh, so that's what's going on. Up until that point, I was just kind of like, I'm a little confused and a little uncertain about like what's transpiring and what's real, what's not real, like what's happening, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, having said that, once I got to the end, I was like, oh, this is solid. The artwork's fantastic, man. I absolutely love it. Honestly, I care more about the Emperor than I do about Midas. I'm more interested in him. Now, here's a question I have for you. Which one is you? Because clearly you probably wrote yourself into the comics somewhere. So, like, are you Midas?
No, it's funny. Like, I don't think I really did. Other people have asked me that too.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I really did. I mean, I think there's like maybe some of my perspective is in some of the characters. But yeah, I don't really think there's too much self-insert. I mean, there's definitely like parts of me in each one of them, right? But no, I don't really think so. I mean, look, the thing I'll say about Unity is like you're right about the way it's structured, but it's that whole thing of like the reveal recontextualizes. That's going to happen like again and again and again. So, I've always really liked the heady stories and the ones that are very cerebral. So there's kind of a thing going on. Like when I was first reading it, it does sort of jump a lot. And there's some kind of quick turns that happens. And, without like giving anything away, once you get into like chapter 2 works as like a part 2 to chapter 1. And it goes even further with some of those things. But then when you get into chapter 4, there's a massive reveal that makes stuff make even more sense. And you will look at everything you've read before completely differently. Where you're going to be like...
Really?
Yeah. You're going to be like, oh, so that's what was really going on. But we have to like get you there, right? And so... I think, a lot of the characters are acting true to themselves, but there will be a moment where you will look back at every single thing every character did and wonder, like, was that really them doing that? You know what I mean?
Okay. See, I wish you hadn't told me that because one of the theories that I wanted to believe. No. One of the theories I wanted to believe is that Midas is secretly there to destroy humanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
He's got a thing. He's got a thing for sure. But I'm not talking about Midas actually. Okay. I'm talking about somebody else.
I was gonna say, is it somebody we've been introduced to in the first issue?
Yes. But
really?
Yeah. But that's probably all I can say. You know what I mean? But
I am fascinated by it. I do love it.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no, I'm glad you liked it. I think for me, I think it finds itself a little bit around like page 7, 8, or 9, because there's a little bit of a clunkiness at the beginning. But then I think once it finds itself, it moves pretty well, and we're pretty far into chapter 2, and Art is working on chapter 3, and then I've been doing a lot of writing on like chapter 4 and 5 because that reveal is such a big deal. You know what I mean? So kind of building up to that. So
one of the things I hope you do, and one of the things that I really wanted to see was like something that just like detailed the war. Because one of the things that I really love that you did, right, is you're like, okay, so like folks got powers one day. And then like, what was it, like 3 months later or something like that, 6 months later, like the war happened.
Yes.
Right. And so like by the time you pick up in the modern day, it's been something like 30 years,
correct.
I think,
yes,
since the war ended. Yeah. So it's been like 30 years since the war ended. I would love to see just like a detailed chronicle of the war.
Yeah.
And like how it all went down. Like that would have been really, really dope. And you do get bits and pieces of it.
Correct.
Over time. Which is cool, right? Over the course of the first issue, it's like, okay, this happened or that happened, or they talk about how powerful Midas was, or what's his name who fought Midas originally?
Yeah,
and then
Magnus,
now he's like, you're 10 times. Yeah. Like,
dude, have you seen any of the fight? Before? Have you seen any of the pages for the fight in issue 2?
No, man. You left on a ridiculous cliffhanger.
Can I show you just a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're watching, you got the stream pulled up?
I have the stream on YouTube. Yeah.
All right, let me show you.
Yeah,
Just...
because you left me on just a ridiculous cliffhanger where he's just like standing in front of the tower and he's like, "I'm ready for a fight," and I was like, "Bro, like what even?" Yeah, I was so mad. I was pissed off at you, Josh.
So check this out. Oh, I know, but that's the whole thing. Is like it's all about the like wanting the next one. It's a big part of it, right? So
I really want the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a couple of pages of it. You might be on a slight delay here, so that I'll just leave this up for a second.
Yeah, no, you're good.
And then this one,
spoiler tag has expired.
Like this one, I like absolutely love.
Wow.
Yeah. So like the fight it goes down for sure. The fight's gonna be really good, but yeah, there's a lot like
okay.
Yeah.
No, what's up?
Well, it's just like there's like a rising action kind of thing. So, 1 is a little sparse on action, 2 has some action, 3 ramps it up, 4 is absurd. And then 5 is going to be like really crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, the art's fantastic.
Dude, it's so good. The team they're crushing it. Our colorist is doing Spawn right now, and like fucking Todd McFarlane keeps throwing so much on him that he's like behind on my stuff. But I told him, I was like, look, man, I understand, and you gotta do your shit for Todd. I get it. But I can accept this being delayed if you color it better than Spawn. It has to look better than Spawn, and I'll be okay. And he agreed to that. Don't tell Todd, but yeah, so that's something we're working on.
I don't talk to Todd McFarlane, so yeah, you don't have to worry about that. Cool. What I am curious about, the big thing that I'm curious about, and I won't spoil anything. Mm-hmm. When Magnus is having a conversation with the man on the inside,
yes,
and he talks about why it is he should be able to go against Midas.
Yes.
Does that apply to Midas?
It doesn't apply to Midas because Midas is not gifted.
Artificial.
Yeah, he's artificial. Yeah. Now, there's some weird stuff with I'll tell you one thing that's not that, it's not like that big of a spoiler, but it's kind of interesting is Midas has a consciousness, but the material that he's made out of, like that gold metal, that is what is preventing telepaths from being able to like read his mind. So like, I think at first you think there is no mind there, but that's not true. There is a mind. It's just encased in something that it's almost like Magneto's helmet, right? So they can't get in there, but Midas is far and away more powerful than anybody on the planet, but they don't really know his upper limits. And because they're, as time goes on, right, they're getting more powerful. Who knows if at some point that'll change? That's kind of an interesting thought, maybe eventually with enough time, you could see that happen. But for now, he is really the goalpost. Nobody can really, which kind of, it's odd because if you think about it, like, he's not just crushing people in his fights, but he could. He's just like kind of observing, and he's not going super hard, right? But there's a lot of fun stuff coming. I think I'm proud of the team. I think the first chapter's good, but it'll also probably be the worst chapter we ever do, right? Because it's like, we're getting the team together. I'm pulling the ideas together, and it's like sometimes you got to kind of find the form of the thing as you're going. So I feel pretty strongly it'll be the worst chapter we ever make. I think 2 is going to blow people away, but they're going to be pissed because they're going to want to know, like, well, what now? Chapter 3 is cool. It kind of takes a breath while also pushing. And then 4 will be something that people will never forget. And then 5 is like just a nice holy shit kind of close. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm totally down with that. I'm excited to see where it goes, man. Like it's really kept my attention so far. Like I said, it was a little slow in the beginning, and it kind of I had to just sort of keep on going. But like once I would agree with that statement. Once I got about 7 or 8 pages into it, I was like, okay, this has me hooked. Like I'm definitely down.
Yeah,
so,
no, thanks. That's good to hear.
Where you go, man.
That's good to hear, man. I appreciate it.
To see where you go.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. I'll let you get back to it, man.
All
Josh,
right, brother.
I appreciate it, dude.
I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, man. Everybody loves it when you do.
Yeah, man. Always awesome being here.
All right, brother. Take care.
Later.
Woo! That's what I'm talking about. That was nice, man. Rob took us to school, shared some cool thoughts about X-Men 97. We got to talk about Unity. That's good stuff, baby. It's good stuff. What do you guys think? It's getting colder and colder in here. Like, ooh, got to turn the heat on a little bit. I guess I could turn that out, put that other thing on, but then I'm afraid about sweating. Want me to talk about Fallout a little bit? I mean, I really like Fallout. So I didn't play like a ton of the games. I think I played Fallout 4 a little bit. I remember that one being really big deal, and I liked it. But other than that, not really. I've never been like a huge Fallout guy. But I like Bethesda. I like their games, and so I checked it out. I thought it was great. Spoilers or no spoilers? No, I won't do any spoilers. I'll say, I mean, I know there's some people out there that are like, you know, kind of dogging on it or whatever. Like, I've seen some people being like, no, it's not that great. Some haters, too. I don't know, man. I think it's great. It's layered. The characters seem cool. It has, like, the fish out of water aspect with the Vault Dweller, and I think she's cool. She does a good job. Goggins is awesome as almost like a Red Skull type character. He plays this guy, this mutant known as the Ghoul. So I think he's really good. What do you think about the criticisms of breaking continuity with the games? I think, to me, if that's only a problem if they said it was going to tie into the games, right? So, like, with the Halo show, it's not that it's not in the Halo universe that triggers the fans. It's that it doesn't feel like it's Halo at all. You know what I mean? So I think it's a little bit different. They did say that? No way. Who said that? Todd? Did Todd Howard come out and say that? Love when you and Rob get together, especially the X-Men talk. So nice to have some good nerd TV lately. Love and unity. Keep doing what you do, man. Thank you so much, dude. Yeah. No, I was grateful that Rob hit me up yesterday. We were just talking about X-Men. I was like, dude, you want to come on the stream? I think we always have a good conversation when Rob comes on, dude. We're just nerds. You know, we're nerds, content creators. It's good stuff, for sure. But yeah, as far as Fallout goes, I'm enjoying it. I'm probably gonna binge a couple today, even. You know, like by the way, chat, we still got some stuff to do. Like, I hope you're all not tired and trying to get out of here, because we still got shit to do. We got to talk about TMNT. I want to react to a video about TMNT. Yeah, man, we got some stuff to do. So I hope you're not too tired. You guys need to tap out. Do you need a little break? Should we do some jumping jacks together? Here, let me try to catch up on some of these chats here. Screw it. Let's go over the power slap card. No. Rob, how do you feel about Cavill getting booted off The Witcher and other projects for caring too much to the source material? You know, I mean, obviously Rob's not here, but I think given what he was saying before and the agreement of, you know, the whole Beau DeMayo thing and, like, we need to have people that are passionate about this, I think he'd probably agree that, like, Cavill was in the right there and the writers probably weren't. Mariana says, did you see Gina's interview with Sage Steele? She was canceled too by ESPN. Great convo, highly recommend. Oh, that's interesting. No, I did not see that. I'll have to check that out. Gonna be real curious how that case with her goes, you know. John Cross says, for next week's deep dive, can we go through the music that pertains to Superman? I'm not against that, man. I'm not against that, but I think we still need to kind of keep it on the mythos of the character. But obviously John Williams does John Williams things, and I think that's a big part of why we love Superman so much. I would argue too, the Man of Steel soundtrack, even if you hate what Snyder did, bro, that Hans Zimmer shit is too nice. Like, it is too nice. I love that. I still listen to that soundtrack. The whole scene where he's learning to fly and that stuff, it's building and stuff like. If you're ever having a bad day, put that shit on, man. Whoo! It's good. Brian Clark says, I think you took Rob to school a little bit with the Jay Lee thing. No, I don't think I took him to school, but I mean, it just so happens that I had a strong connection to that particular thing and Rob didn't. And he just kind of categorized it in a different way. That happens. I mean, all of us are human. And, like, Rob's the go to this shit. He has the encyclopedia. But even Rob can get stuff wrong. You know what I mean? Delta Dan says, love when you... Oh, yeah, we already went over that. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Rob. That's kind of you. But, yeah, I also just... I have an affinity for Jay Lee's art. I don't know what it is. Like... And I like Liefeld, too. A lot of people talk crap on Liefeld. I love Liefeld's art. I think... And I definitely feel I've gotten more like this as I've gotten older. I care about cartooning. And that is not the same thing as if you're doing a cover or if you're doing a big splash page or a double page spread or a commission. I'm less interested in your ability to get anatomy correct. I'm less interested in your ability to draw perspective. I'm more interested in cartooning. How are you moving me through the panel? Are you making me feel the power of these characters? And that, I mean, we talk about Marvel. That's Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby's shit wasn't in perspective. He didn't get anatomy right, but what he got was power, energy. Like, God damn, you could feel that. And I think that's the same with Liefeld. Like, Liefeld had, and still has, a style that just made you feel the power, the energy, the speed of the characters. And that's the same thing with Jay Lee. I really liked that about Jay Lee's stuff. But yeah. Have you read Dragon Ball manga? Best cartooning ever? Yeah, I actually do think Toriyama was probably the GOAT. Especially in early Dragon Ball. His cartooning is pretty much unmatched. I mean, the fluidity, just the energy, the flow, even like the choreography of the fights and stuff, it's pretty much goated. I wish I had it. I have a... maybe it is over there, maybe not. But I have like an old Dragon Ball... It's like something I got at New York Comic Con in 2019. It's like a comic book that shows a chapter of Dragon Ball. It's goated, man. Whew, so good. I'm loving your new form of the focusing on the live stream. That's where you shine, dude. Keep it up. Thank you, Morphonauts. I appreciate that, brother. You know, it's a little different, a little scary, but we're gonna figure it out. You know, it doesn't mean I stop like working or trying to figure out like how to maximize views and stuff like that. It just that's not my whole thing anymore. You know, my thing, I'm a streamer. I'm a streamer now. But I can still use my YouTube knowledge to like give the things we do the best chance to do well on the channel and stuff like that. So, you know, still a learning process there, but that's what we're doing. Quitter? Yeah, no, totally quitter. Unity panel, SDCC 2025. I don't know. As I was kind of alluding to earlier, we're a little behind. You know, my colorist, like I said, he's doing a lot of Spawn stuff. So I'm hoping we can hit that August. I mean, I think we still can, but it's going to take... Like, here's the thing. It might take crunch, and I don't really want to crunch the guys. I want them to do great work. You know what I mean? So let's just see. Once Unity is completed, once all 5 chapters are done, and we're printed and we're shipped, maybe even published, because I'm going to pitch it around, then we can start making plans like that. You know what I mean? Hunting Dude says with a 5 spot, thanks for the long streams, man. Got off early, about to chill in the tower. Hyped AF to start Fallout this weekend. Take my money. Nerd Avengers for life. Hey, I appreciate it, man. I love getting off work early. Love. Hans Zimmer for the Unity movie, that would be sick. That would be perfect. When are the Twitch gaming streams coming? I don't know. Maybe we could try something next week. Could try something. We could try. Hey, we could try. All right, let's talk a little bit about TMNT. How much do you guys know about TMNT, by the way? Anybody in here read the old comics? Anybody? Oh, man, if you got some of those old black and white comics, do you want to... You know how much those will be worth? God damn. Whew. Okay, so let's talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a new direction. This was out in the Hollywood trades yesterday. It's kind of a big deal. Coming from Boris Kitt and the Hollywood Reporter. Turtle Power exclusive. Paramount is taking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into a new direction, developing a live-action and R-rated adaptation of TMNT, The Last Ronin. Details below. Now, we're going to get into the details. I want to check the article out, but I want to frame this for you guys and explain to you why this is so damn cool. We're in a kind of weird spot right now with fandom, nerdy things, but there's a lot of stuff that's like starting to pop off or like showing us a new flavor. Like we were just talking about Fallout. I think the Fallout show is great, and it's a new flavor. You know, you got House of the Dragon, you've got Invincible, you got The Boys, you got X-Men 97, you got these different flavors of nerdy things coming out. And Marvel themselves appears to be going in a sort of darker direction, rated R, with Deadpool, TVMA for Daredevil, and potentially even pushing the PG-13, going a little bit more mature. Who knows exactly why? Maybe it's just a stylistic thing, could be a timing thing. And so you have Paramount. Enter Paramount. Now, for the uninitiated, people that don't know the lore, that aren't really big into the Turtles, you might say, wait, what the hell? R-rated Turtles? I remember those cartoons back in the day, and they were just chilling with April. It was all happy-go-lucky, and they're eating pizza and beating people up. How could you do it R-rated? That doesn't make any sense. It feels like a betrayal of the Turtles I know. Well, if you have that opinion, you're just kind of ignorant to the true history of the Turtles. Because ironically, the original black and white Turtles that those two kids made was hard R, violent as hell. So ironically, this is more true to the actual Turtles and how they started than what became popular as the Turtles through the show and through the toys and through a lot of stuff that we call commercialism. Now, one other thing that's very interesting about this story, which is why to me it's more than just R-rated Turtles. I feel that this is good, okay? And here's why. The two creators, Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird. Two kids having fun, come up with a wild idea, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, right? Just having fun. Well, the story of those two is unfortunately a little bit sad. Like most things, when success happened, division, drama, fighting, these guys have a huge falling out. Huge falling out. Ugly falling out. And the Turtles IP has suffered because of that falling out for a long, long time. And this book, The Last Ronin, is those two guys finally coming together and doing another Turtle story. On top of that, don't want to go into spoilers for The Last Ronin. But the reason it's called The Last Ronin is because there's one turtle left. The brothers are dead. And they miss their brothers. And a lot of people have pointed out that in some ways, Last Ronin feels like this kind of catharsis for those two kids, now much older, and the loss of the brotherhood they had. So it's like meaning on top of meaning on top of meaning. And so I love this idea. Just from concept, I love this idea. Now, let's read the article. Let's get into the details. Live-action R-rated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie in the works from producer Walter Hamada. I know for some of you that's going to be a red flag because of, his involvement in the Snyder Cut, kind of stuff. But Walter's a good producer, man. I don't know the full details of the whole Snyder thing. I obviously love Snyder, but I'm not so in love with Snyder that I'm going to deny a good idea when I see it just because he's attached. Tyler Burton Smith, who co-wrote the upcoming action movie Boy Kills World, is penning the script for this high body count tale. After the success of last year's animated hit film Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, Paramount Pictures is keeping Turtle Power going by putting a new feature project into development. This one, however, will go beyond the realm of all ages material the long-standing property is known for and instead go into gritty R-rated territory. Paramount is developing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, adapting a popular storyline seen in the recent IDW comic as a live-action feature with the intent of making it for an R rating. Tyler Burton Smith, who co-wrote the upcoming R-rated action movie Boy Kills World and who wrote the 2019 iteration of Chucky horror franchise's Child's Play, is penning the script. Walter Hamada is producing through his 18 Hertz production company as a part of his multi-year deal with the studio. Hamada is the former head of DC Films, who rose through the ranks at New Line when he oversaw Warner Brothers' division of horror movies. This is The Conjuring and the It franchises. His 18 Hertz banner is focused on telling features in the horror genre. And Last Ronin is about as terrifying as a turtle's tale can get. Set in a totalitarian future New York City, the comic miniseries told of how the Turtles and Master Splinter are killed off one by one by the grandson of the villainous Shredder and the synthetic ninjas. One turtle manages to survive, barely, and vows to extract bloody vengeance. The trick of the book was that it wasn't clear, for a while at least, which one of the turtles lived, as the survivor had the weapons of all four. Co-creator Kevin Eastman and Tom Waltz wrote the comic based on an older story from Eastman and co-creator Peter Laird. Artists included Isao and Isaac Escorza, Ben Bishop, and Eastman. IDW publisher that holds the license for the Ninja Turtles comics put out the book between 2020 and 2022. The comics were an unexpected massive hit, with the collected trade paperback being second highest selling graphic novel of 2023 per Circana book scan. Small aside here, my guys on Unity did a lot of covers for those books. Check it out. Stan Yak, Robert Nugent, they did a lot of covers for those books. Super ironic that it's all connected. You know what I mean? It's kind of interesting. The comic book company recently released a sequel, TMNT, The Last Ronin 2, Re-Evolution, with the debut issue touted as being one of the biggest comics of the year, with more than 140,000 copies ordered. I love seeing big old numbers like that with American comics. Let's go. Ninja Turtles debuted as a black and white indie comic in 1984, parodying comics like Chris Claremont's X-Men comics and Frank Miller's ninja-focused work. A toy deal turned the comic into a generational touchstone in the late 1980s, albeit by a bright and cheerful animated series, followed by a hit live-action movie wherein the Turtles were played by actors in suits. Yeah, and the rationale for the guys back then were like, well, we don't mind. We'll just do our version of the Turtles in the comic. We'll let the toys and the show and the movie, but we'll just do our thing over here in the comics. Didn't really work out that well, but that was the rationale back then, right? Over the years, more animated series came at audiences like twirling nunchucks, while Paramount, which landed the rights to the property via Viacom in 2009, put out 2 live-action movies produced by Michael Bay that starred Megan Fox and Will Arnett in the mid-2010s. They're okay. Mutant Mayhem, produced by Seth Rogen, Point Grey, brought back a respectable sheen to the property by giving it a cool outsider point of view. Critics and audiences liked what they saw, with the animated movie grossing over $118.6 million at the domestic box office. They didn't put the million in here. So literally it says, with the animated movie grossing over $118. That's a typo. And hilarious. A sequel is now in the works. IDW has relaunched the mainline Ninja Turtles comic series timed the title's 40th anniversary. Smith is rep by WME and Grandview. So, kind of crazy. R-rated Turtles. Will this become the next big franchise? I don't know. As a Turtles fan, I'm pretty damn excited, dude. I think it might be exactly what we need. And it seems like the guys are involved, right? The original creators. I also find it wild that the Turtles comic finds a revitalization, and then the studio pays attention to that and the numbers, and now they're going with it too. I think it's a really feel-good story. And I'm really excited about this. And I haven't even watched the Seth Rogen one. I know it's cool. I know people like it. I have not seen it. But I'm damn sure. I'm day one. I'm in the theater watching this R-rated Turtles Last Ronin. Like, are you kidding me? I'm excited, dude. So that's the update and why I am hyped. Why haven't I watched it? What the fuck? Why? Just haven't got around to it. I want to watch it. We've been close a couple of times. I forget what I picked over it. We were going to watch it one night, and then I picked something else. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Zero interest in that animated one. I've heard it's great. You know what I mean? So, I'm definitely going to watch it. And also, this thing's got to be going for big bucks now, man. Ooh, that's another part of this why I'm really excited. Like, let's go. Should I sell it? Should I sell it? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, you know what would be kind of fun now, though? If you guys are down, let's watch a video deep diving on the Turtles. What do you think? What if we deep dove on the Turtles? There's one video in particular. Yeah, this is the one. This guy, Matt. Y'all know about this guy, Matt? I think this would be cool. Let's do this. Let's do this. This guy's videos are incredible, dude. Let me get this set up for us so we can... Are you ready? Are you ready to get edumacated?
If you look at a list of the highest grossing media properties of all time, you'll see a lot of familiar names that were developed by big companies. But down here...
Hang on, guys. Jeez. All right, let's do some learning about these turtles here. TMNT and all that.
If you look at a list of the highest grossing media properties of all time, you'll see a lot of familiar names that were developed by big companies. But down here at number 20, you'll see a $15 billion property that was started by two guys in their 20s with a little indie comic. And I don't mean they drew this comic on behalf of some company. They literally sat down in their living room, drew it, lettered it, and with a $1,000 loan from one of their uncles, started their own business to print and sell it. So how did this tiny, violent, black and white comic end up becoming a property bigger than the Avengers? Well, as I spent the last few weeks researching that question, the story I found was a lot more interesting and ultimately, like so many stories of rapid success, sadder than I could have expected.
Yep.
So let's head back to 1981, before the toys, the movies, the TV shows, to a 19-year-old Kevin Eastman, a guy who desperately wants to be a comic artist but is currently stuck boiling lobsters at a restaurant in Maine. In his free time, Eastman devours all types of comics. He especially loves the king himself, Jack Kirby. But he reads everything from superhero comics to the...
how could you not, right? King Kirby, you know what I mean? Yeah, these videos are so well produced. Love these videos.
European import heavy metal, which we'll come back to later.
Heavy metal's
now,
great.
In his quest to find all the most interesting comics, he comes across a local self-published comic magazine called Scat. He likes what he sees, so he writes a letter to the guys making it and ends up getting connected with one of Scat's main artists, Peter Laird. Laird invites Eastman over.
Hang on.
Self-published comic magazine called Scat. He likes what he sees, so he writes a letter to the guys making it.
Bro, this is so cool. Dear Mr. Laird, my name is Kevin Eastman. I am a 19-year-old fantasy artist. I have been in recent contact with Brian, Bill, and Dawn down to the Graphics Build Inc. Told me about your work. I have also noticed your art in the Award Beyond Happening poster. You are totally talented. I am obsessed to become a fantasy artist and would like to talk to someone who shares my ideas, even just a little. Advise me about my work or to help me choose a direction would help a lot. Please, I just live in North blah, 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 blah. Man, that's cool. Like, that's cool.
It and ends up getting connected with one of Scat's main artists, Peter Laird. Laird invites Eastman over, and what does Eastman see up on Laird's wall? A piece of original Jack Kirby art. Now,
what? This guy's got original Kirby? Do you know how much that's worth now?
Laird is 8 years older than Eastman, but despite the difference in age, the two become fast friends, bonding over their love of comics and bad TV, and because Laird too dreams of becoming a comic book artist. Pretty soon, Eastman moves in with Laird. Eastman keeps working at restaurants, and Laird is scraping by doing illustrations for local gardening magazines and newspapers.
The grind, man. When you're in the early days and you're just like, you've got this dream and you're doing whatever you can, but you're still working on the dream. Beautiful.
But they both want to land that big job at Marvel, DC, or another big comic publisher, so they spend their nights hanging out and drawing comics in front of the TV. Well, on one of those fateful comic drawing nights, Eastman whips up a sketch to try and make Laird laugh. It's a turtle with nunchucks strapped to his arms. Laird grabs a piece of paper and does his own rendition. Eastman gives the drawing a name, Ninja Turtle. Laird fires back, adding Teenage Mutant. And it's here, in this moment, at the very conception of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that I think we find our first clue as to why they would become so wildly successful. The idea wasn't created by some toy executive or marketing guru.
Yep.
It wasn't even created by a work-for-hire comic artist trying to meet a deadline.
Yep.
It was made by two friends who were just trying to make each other laugh. Of course, at this point,
that's the juice, man. Like, that's the juice, right? Like, who would have known? And they're just like goofing around and having fun. And, man. The muse will visit, but she has to find you working, you know?
No idea where this little sketch is going to take them, but they must have known they had something special because they decide to turn that sketch into a full comic. They multiply their little turtle by 4, give each of them a name based on Renaissance painters, and base their personalities on themselves and their friends. Donatello is Laird, the reserved tech geek, and Eastman is Raphael, the wild hothead. And this, for me, is where we see the second key to TMNT's success. It's such an odd choice to use your main character design 4 times, but at its core, this is a story about friendship. The friendship between Eastman and Laird, and its mirror in the turtles themselves. To fill out the rest of the Turtles' origin story, they fill the comic with things they love. One of the things they love is Daredevil. So the Turtles' origin story actually happens just out of frame of Daredevil's origin story, where the goo that gave Matt Murdock his powers drips on a few turtles. And it doesn't stop there. Daredevil's master is Stick, so of course the Turtles study under Splinter. Daredevil fights the Hand.
I've literally watched this video before and I don't remember that, but that is cool, dude.
so Turtle fights the foot. People have called it a parody, but I don't think that's really an accurate description. It's more just a goofy celebration of the things they love, including Jack Kirby, to whom the structure of the book owes a lot of credit. And another crazy thing about these two guys is how they work. Instead of having one write, the other draw, or one pencil and the other ink, they both sit down next to each other and pass every page back and forth, each doing a little bit of the penciling, inking, and shading, so that you can't see who did what on any particular page.
That is so crazy, dude. They are drawing, writing, lettering all together. They're just passing the pages back and forth. Like, that's nuts. Like, that does not happen these days. Not that I can think of.
That's insane. It's not how comics are supposed to work, but for these two guys, oh man, does it work. Over the course of the 40-page issue, they invent so many things that just a few years later would be deeply embedded in pop culture. The Turtles, Splinter, the Ooze, Sewers, the Shredder, the Foot Clan. It's got the raw exuberance of two guys who are just trying to amuse themselves and each other. And with a loan from Eastman's uncle, they print 3,000 copies of their comic. They name their publishing company Mirage Studios because it's not really a studio at all, just two guys in their living room.
I like
They fully
that.
expect they'll have copies of this comic sitting on their shelves for years to come.
They sell
Eastman
like
goes back to
6,000.
his summer job in Portland cooking
They sell all of
lobsters,
them.
and Laird's wife gets a job in Connecticut, so he moves away. The roommates split up and go their separate ways. Only fate had other plans. All 3,000 issues of TMNT #1 sell out. So they do a second print run of 6,000 more, and then all of those sell out. They've made enough money to pay Eastman's uncle back and even have a bit left over. So Eastman begins busing back and forth from Portland to Connecticut to work on issue 2. It takes them a few months, but they finish issue 2 and sell 15,000 copies in the first print run. Then they reprint issue 1 and sell 30,000 more copies.
Oh my God.
Something's happening. They quit their jobs. Eastman moves to Connecticut to work on issue 3, which launches with a print run of 50,000 copies. 3 issues in, and they've achieved their dream. They are making
wild.
a living, albeit a small living, but a living by drawing comics. But for better or worse, they have no idea what comes next. But before we move on, let's take a look at these comics, because there's so much talk about how successful in business Eastman and Laird became that there can be this false narrative that these guys were just really lucky, or at best were really good character designers. What I think people forget is how freaking good these comics are. The energy in these early issues is off the charts. There's no editor, no boss telling them what they could or couldn't do, so they just decide to do whatever they want.
Hell
like
yeah.
in issue 3, they set out to do the longest car chase in comic history, and they do. And it works because the staging, the geography, the pacing of it, all of it's absolutely masterful. There may be a roughness to some of their drawings, but it doesn't stop them from trying to push the comic medium forward. I don't know how much manga they had access to at this point, but there's a fluidity to the storytelling that really sets it apart from everything else coming out in the 80s in the West. Not only is the storytelling great, but they are channeling their hero Jack Kirby with the pace of invention.
hell yeah.
Issue 2 introduces April O'Neil, Baxter Stockman, the Mousers. Issue 3 has the TCRI aliens, and in the 4th issue they create Casey
Music's
Jones. By issue
kinda
5,
doing
the
something
turtles
to
are
me.
in space, meaning aliens and robots. There's this pure raw joy of being able to make a living drawing comics with your buddy that just spills out onto every page. And that fun is infectious, because soon the suits start calling. Eastman and Laird get approached by a bunch of licensing agents who promise big TV shows and toy deals, but they want exclusivity and these long 5-year contracts. But Eastman and Laird are savvy. They know better than to give away control of their creation. And as we'll soon see, that will be both a good thing and a bad thing for them. But when licensing agent Mark Friedman shows up and offers them a 30-day, non-exclusive deal to prove what he can do, they decide to let him take a shot. And I want to recognize how the Turtles franchise seems to always attract underdogs. Mark Friedman was not a big hotshot licensing agent. He had to rent a suit and a tie for his meeting with Eastman and Laird. And in the 30 days he was given, he gets a deal with Playmates. Playmates was a doll manufacturer, but wanted to challenge Hasbro and Mattel in the action figure space, so they were an underdog in their own way too. Well, with the toy deal in place, they hire an agency to produce a 5-episode TV cartoon. And unlike if they had worked for DC or Marvel, Eastman and Laird are in control of everything. And you have to give them credit, because they're very receptive collaborators with the toy and animation companies. They let them sand the rough edges off their creation, adding colored bandanas and pizza, removing the violence, the grittiness, and the kind of phallic-looking tails. Now, Laird had
so that's when it kind of becomes what I think most people think of with the Turtles is, polished and commercial, right? But at its core, it was violent. It was gritty. You know what I mean?
Had an especially hard time with this, but he went along with what these older, wiser executives were telling him. And at the end of the day, Eastman and Laird agreed that whatever happened with the toys and cartoons, they'd always have their black and white comic where they could tell their version of the Turtles. Sadly, those would turn out to be the famous last words, but we'll get to that. First, Turtle Mania.
Turtle Mania!
If it looks foolish to you, you don't know how to recognize a $350 million a year industry when you see it.
In case you weren't alive in the late 80s, the show and figures turned out to be a huge success.
Hell
they captured
yeah.
the imagination of kids across the country. Despite all the changes, they'd successfully translated the fun and energy of the comic into cartoon and plastic form, and kids were absolutely losing their minds for it. The show quickly became the #1 kids show, airing almost every day of the week, and the toys were selling out across the country. I think we have to remember the landscape at the time. Turtles are situated between the cornball 80s.
Adam, you said you had a lot of those. Do you still have them? Because they might be worth a little dough.
Of He-Man and Thundercats, but before the badassness of 90s animation and the anime invasion. It's easy to forget how unique something like the Turtles would have been when it came out, because so much of what came after it was trying to replicate it. The money was flowing in, Mirage was growing, Kevin Eastman bought a tank, and the licensing deals kept coming. But before we move on, I want to look at one of the comics they published during this period.
Bro, you know you're doing well when you're buying a tank. Like, I don't know, it doesn't matter what the industry is. If you're buying a tank, you're doing pretty well, you know?
Because I think it gives us a pretty good insight into where their heads were at. In it, the Turtles' downstairs neighbor is none other than Jack Kirby. But this Jack Kirby has a magical gem which, when attached to his drawing pencil, brings anything that he draws into the real world. And that must have been exactly how Eastman and Laird felt at that moment, watching the little drawings from their living room come to life and take over every corner of pop culture. But that comic doesn't exactly have a happy ending. You see, Kirby, along with Donatello, go through a portal to a world populated entirely by his drawings. But the drawings attack them, and Kirby has to overcome his artist block to fight back. And while he succeeds and Donatello escapes, Kirby is trapped forever in the world of his drawings. Before the portal closes, he sends Donatello a note. On it is a drawing of a turtle, and a quote from one of Jack Kirby's comics. "Life, at best, is bittersweet." You see, despite all the success, their relationship was falling apart. They were spending so much time managing the business that they barely had any time to work on the comic book. And when they did, they'd spent so much time apart that they were creatively on totally different pages. And by issue 10, their relationship had gotten so distant and fractured that they're going back and forth, whiting out each other's drawings and drawing over them. And it took them 4 months to get that issue of the comic out. Sadly, by this point, they'd gotten so sick of working together that they couldn't get through a single issue without a lot of unpleasantness and disagreements. And as you read these issues, you can almost feel them trying to heal their broken relationship. They moved the Turtles out of New York City to Northampton, Massachusetts, where they lived. The Turtles are broken and defeated, not on speaking terms with one another, each trying to cope with their failure in their own way. You can feel the melancholy, and you have to wonder which of them wrote this journal entry for April. I also have friends, real friends that I care for and that care for me. I'll always be there for them and they for me. This will probably be my last entry. I guess I just wanted some kind of final word, sort of wrap up all that I had written so far. Life is good, and life goes on. It would be the last issue they worked on together as true collaborators. Their entire creative partnership had lasted for only 15 issues. They would remain business partners, but they decided to alternate issues of the comics that wouldn't have to work together. And the quality of the comic does suffer pretty dramatically as they start trading off. They're not bad comics per se, but there's something that feels forced and just off about the whole thing. They do come together for a 3-issue run that brings the Turtles back to New York, not jamming like they used to, but at least they were both involved, and some of the spark comes back to the comic. But after that, they both step away from the comic completely, allowing the other members of the Mirage.
See, like, I'll say one of the reasons I really like this guy's videos is that he connects a lot of the information to, like, emotion. Whereas I think a lot of people that break stuff down can be a little too information heavy and just be, like, analyzing at kind of like an analytical place. But this dude is doing a great job of taking it to an emotional place, which I think anchors it more from a storytelling perspective, right? Yeah.
Studio to run the comic while they focus on the business. But just as their relationship is breaking down, business is picking up. A movie is in production, a show is on the air, toys and video games are launching all the time. They're stuck in it together, but they want different things. Laird wants to slow it down a bit and enjoy all the success they've had, but Eastman can't sit still.
Well,
beyond managing Mirage and the
on
Turtles empire, he founds a museum for comic art. He starts a second publishing company called Tundra to focus on more mature storytelling that didn't fit in at Mirage. And remember Heavy Metal magazine, which was a big influence on him? Well, he buys it and starts running that too. Mirage publishes a ton of comics in this period, but neither Eastman or Laird have significant involvement. They had aimed to become professional comic artists, and the rocket ship of success had blasted them right past their dream. For issue 50, they come together once more. They plan out a 12-issue arc, but they only make it 1 issue working together as collaborators before Eastman leaves again and Laird finishes the series with other artists. After that run, Laird leaves too. They cancel the original Turtles comic after only 62 issues and relaunch a color version written and drawn by Jim Lawson, but even that version only lasts 13 issues. Turtle Mania is dying down. The third movie is a critical failure, and plans for a fourth movie are scrapped. The hit cartoon show is...
Yo, I'm gonna be real. I like the third one. I like the time travel. I know it's weird, but I like it.
Canceled, and Playmates winds down its toys. They even turn the rights of the comics over to Image, who does a very 90s grim and gritty take on the Turtles with no involvement from the Mirage crew. They make a final attempt to save the franchise with a live-action TV reboot called The Next Mutation. But during development, Eastman and Laird have a huge falling out over the inclusion of a fifth turtle, Venus de Milo. The show comes out with a fifth turtle, but it was the final straw in their friendship and their partnership, and the show is a commercial failure anyway.
Damn.
Turtle Mania was over. Eastman wants to move on with his life, and he sells his share of the Turtles to Peter Laird and walks away from his creation. It seems he burned a lot of bridges, because in an interview a few years later, he says he doesn't even talk to anyone from that time in his life. And if this story ended there, this wouldn't be a $15 billion property. It would be a little comic and a crazy toy fad that impacted one generation of kids. But the story doesn't end there, because after a few years of no Turtles media at all, something interesting happens. A new TMNT comic book comes out, written by Peter Laird. It's black and white and published by Mirage. Laird ignores the Image run and picks up the story from the last Mirage comics as if all those years had never happened. It's very much the Laird version of the Turtles, which can be a bit jarring if you only know the original show. It's very sci-fi and at times very serious and soapy. It feels like an honest-to-God indie comic again, quirky and personal, and you can tell Laird is having fun. And from there, things pick up steam. Laird, now the sole owner of Turtles, gets a new show on the air. And this time, he gets to do it his way. That means no Bebop and Rocksteady, no goofy gags, no Mutant of the Week, and a lot more violence and action and long epic story arcs. And people like it. Playmates decides to start making toys again. Laird works with a movie studio to get another film out in 2007, 14 years after the last time Turtles were in theaters. And I feel like it's this era that really saved the Turtles. Because Laird came back, and once again, with a tiny black and white indie comic, proved that the Turtles mattered. They weren't going to be some 80s novelty. They were going to impact generation after generation. It's a great era of Turtles media. The only thing missing is Kevin Eastman. But we'll get back to him. Laird claims he'll do the book as long as he's having fun, and I guess after a few years he stops having fun because the book slows down after about 30 issues. Around this time, the animated show had run its course, and Laird decides the time has finally come. He sells the rights to the Turtles to Viacom. 25 years after their creation, for the first time in history, neither Eastman or Laird are in control of the Turtles' fate. But that's not the end of the story either. Viacom does a deal with IDW to publish new Turtles comics in a new continuity. And who do they hire to write it? Tom Waltz. But who do they hire to co-write it and do the layouts? Kevin Eastman. That's right, he's back. Apparently he just needed a good 14-year break to re-energize. So now, after so many years of the Laird...
Sometimes you just need a 14-year break, you know? Like me right now.
version of the Turtles, we get the Eastman version. And guess what? It's also really good. I'm gonna put a reading guide down below because it really is shocking how many really good Turtles comics there are, and it can be overwhelming. Eastman even gets involved in consulting with a new TV show and the new movies. Obviously in this era, the Turtles are more ninja-y, less sci-fi, and man, you gotta love all these Eastman layouts. Yet another generation gets to grow up with the Turtles in their lives, still piloted by one of their co-creators.
Pretty cool.
Sadly, we're still missing Peter Laird. Honestly, he seems to be happy running his blog and making ambivalent comments about the new Turtles stuff, getting really into pottery, but it feels like this story is missing an ending. I have this parasocial need for these guys to be friends with each other again.
Me too.
They gave me so much in my childhood,
I have that.
and I feel I owe them that. Well, apparently, so did somebody at Netflix. For the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle episode of the show Toys That Made Us, they decide to bring Eastman and Laird together again for the first time. Wow. Now that's just marketing BS because they had been together a few times at conventions, but man, I can't watch this without tearing up.
We had that window installed. Yeah. Because our big idea was we'd each have a drawing table next to the window. I'd be in the other room, you'd be here. Yep. And we literally pass pages through the window. It never happened. No.
Wow.
That moment, that pause when they both look at what could have been.
Thanks, Dylan.
The life unlived, where they had a lot less money,
I'll get into
a lot
that
less
just
fame,
a second, brother.
but got to spend their lives drawing comics with their friend, passing the pages back and forth. But that's not the end of this story either, because shortly after that meeting, a new Turtles book comes out. And look who it's credited to, Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. It seems that sometime after that meeting, Eastman dug through some old boxes and found an outline for a Turtles graphic novel that he and Laird had drafted during the golden years of their collaboration in the late 80s, but never got to make into a reality because their success distracted them. With Laird's blessing, Eastman expands the outline into a 5-issue series, and it's probably the closest thing we'll get to a new Eastman and Laird collaboration.
Yep.
Interestingly, it ignores all the continuity from the Image run, Laird's run, Eastman's run, erasing all those years of strife and discord, and serves as a direct continuation of and conclusion to their original collaboration.
Yeah.
And of course, the magic was back, and it was a huge success.
Huge
and the plot of that
success.
comic, it follows the last surviving turtle in his final struggle against the Foot Clan, lonely and haunted by guilt and remorse and the memory of his lost friends. As he lays their weapons down to rest one final time, he says, "I miss my brothers so much."
Damn.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you
Okay, this is the dude's channel, Matt with 4 T's. He's absolutely incredible. Takes his time with his videos, but they are fire. So go give him a subscribe and a follow. And yeah, that's just a really cool video about the turtles. So now you're educated on it. Dylan Pentros with a 10 spot. I really appreciate that, man. It's very generous. Says, Josh, you inspired me to make a huge career change this week. I was stuck in a dead-end construction job that was an hour commute, and now I'm off to my new adventure that starts Monday. Hell yeah, man. Look, life is always tricky, and I think no matter what you do, there's going to be a level of fear, anxiety, pressure. But I think that there's a lot in our world that is meant to kind of keep you from listening to like your inner voice or your intuition. And just for me, I knew the route I was on and the thing I was unable to let go of was causing me a lot of suffering. So it took way too long to kind of identify it and figure it out and make a change. And it's, you know, it's not like I'm super comfortable. You know, I still have a lot of things I have to worry about and, you know, things to do. But I feel much better. I feel much lighter. And I hope you're feeling some of that too, you know, because life's too short. It is too short to be doing something you don't want to be doing. And I had this thought too, it's just for me personally, where I remember when I was working at the restaurant and I said to myself, I would leave even if I didn't make quite as much money. Because, like, let's say you make $100K a year, but you're fucking miserable. Would you take 60, 70, maybe even 50K, but love what you do? And for me, that answer is yes. Like, it is more valuable to not be miserable. 40K is a lot, though. You're right. You're not wrong, Adam. You're not wrong. I just remember I had that feeling a lot when I was, like, really grinding, when I was, you know, trying to make the channel happen. And so I was kind of reminded of that as I was making my decision, because it will probably be a hit, at least short term. It'll be a hit to us financially to not, like, you know, spend all that time and craft big videos and stuff like that. But it's not worth it, dude. Like, no amount of money to me is worth being absolutely miserable for. So thanks for the 10 spot. I appreciate it, Dylan. And I hope it goes well. I hope that the new venture is fruitful.
Please hit the...
Man, that was a cool video. I like Matt's stuff. Just make videos like that guy and never blink. That's your answer. Maybe I'll tell, because we still have an editor working on the clips. Maybe I'll be like, yo, bro, edit out all my blinking. And then the first video, I'll be like, and see what he does. And shave your head. Sheesh. Should we talk more UFC? What you guys want to do? Should we wrap it up soon? Is there anything else we want to go over today? What else is going on? What else is on your mind, chat? How are you? How are you feeling? How's everything going over there, chat? How you doing over there? How you doing over there? What's going on before that? Talk about Joker discourse. What about it? I haven't really seen a lot of Joker discourse, to be honest. What's the Joker discourse? Let's talk about the 28-minute Bluey special dropping this weekend. You know, I mean, I've watched a couple Blueys here and there with Liam. He loves Bluey. He might even have a Bluey-themed party for his second birthday. And I get it. I mean, it is cool, but I'm not like feeling it the way you are or whatever. But yeah, that's cool. 28-minute special. Let's go. Sajid, another one I'm gonna say you should watch. What was it? Bluey over Joker 2? 100%. My dog only shuts up when Bluey is on? Interesting. Bluey is the only TV I can stomach? Oh, interesting. I see. Did you see that Echo dude talking about getting Green Goblin for season 2? No, sir. I don't know what you're talking about there. Joker 2 will be the best thing in DC since Joker 1. Maybe. I'm not really excited for it. I think that the trailer did well, you know, so maybe it'll do really well. I don't know, bro. For me, it's like, I'm hyping it up. Well, there you go. Hype it up, man. My nephew out on Paw Patrol and won a KMS. I don't know what any of that is, bro. I don't know what any of that is. I don't know what you're talking about. Alucard Clock says she dreams to have Green Goblin. Not that it's going to happen. Oh, okay. You hype up Acolyte, I'll hype up Joker too. Ugh. No thanks. Nah, I'm chill. I'm chilling on that one. If you want me to, I could complain about Warhammer for a little bit. You know what I mean? Boom, boom, boom. My sister's dog will stare at it for an hour. What? Really? Talk about the Outlaws ratio? Yo, we could definitely talk about Outlaws. So here's the thing. I am pretty confident Outlaws is going to underperform. I think it's even possible that Star Wars Outlaws bombs. It's already getting ratioed on its trailer. You got Asmongold out there taking shots, but I mean, he's absolutely right. And he's also coming at it from a normie gaming perspective. I don't think the game looks that good. Doesn't look that unique. Has all the problems of AAA these days. Charlie taking shots at the price too. I mean, the price is ridiculous. And that's what I mean is like when I said on Twitter, this game will probably flop and Lucasfilm will learn all the wrong lessons. Like they will literally think some hater train of racist fans or sexist fans like took a poop in their cereal or something. Like, I think they're so detached from reality that they don't understand that you can't just make a game anymore. Like, we live in a world where you've got a game like Helldivers, which I think was like 30 or 40 bucks. And it's releasing a ton of new content. It's got a very fun game loop that's somewhat unique to the space. It's got that sort of overall narrative thing with Joel and all that. Like, dude, there's reasons why that popped off. Outlaws feels like a game that would have been really interesting like 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really have a lot of interest in it as well. It's also connected to Solo, a bad movie. That's true. That's true. Wonder how much that affects it or whatever. But, I mean, to me, I think the bigger story is, like, it's not even an interesting concept. Like, dude, Asmon's right. Look at the Eclipse trailer and then look at that trailer. How, like, in what world are you like, oh, yeah, Outlaws? Yeah. No, this era of Star Wars and Lucasfilm, and I really think it's a lot of like just corporatism. It's corporatism. They're super out of touch, dude. Eclipse ain't happening either. Yeah, but that's beside the point. Like, think about the reaction that trailer had, and then look at the reaction that this trailer had. Like, Eclipse might not ever exist as a game, but it at least exists as a trailer that makes this one look like shit. You can't deny that. Right? So yeah, Star Wars has to do some soul searching. I think, unfortunately, they don't even know that. I think Lucasfilm and I think a lot of corporations, they literally view toxic discourse online as like not reality. And they think just because in their mind it connects to like wrong think, bad people, undesirables, whatever you want to say, like they have convinced themselves that all that noise just isn't even real. And that's so dangerous because they are fucking up. And I think they're shielding themselves with, virtue and some of these other things. Because otherwise, I don't understand. Like, I don't know how you keep making these same mistakes. Right? So Jeet says the Culture Vulture fans now own Star Wars content. Yeah, no, totally. But Lucasfilm allowed that to happen. That's the thing that I like. Do you guys remember? It must have been like 2 or 3 years ago. Theory and I got in a disagreement because I was like, no, the PR lady, she's fucking horrible. And like Theory was like trying to defend her and was like, no, like I've heard she does good, or like I know somebody. I'm like, no, bro, like you don't need to tell me any of that. I can just look at the state of Star Wars and tell you she's not doing a good job. I don't need to know her personally. I can look at the fucking state of the brand. You know what I mean? Yeah, like her job is to call Mark Hamill when he teases a spoiler for the new trailer and be like, hey, we can't have that information out there. We love you, Mark, but you've got to delete that. But it never occurred to her to like extend that to, oh, hey, you just kind of made a flagrant comment about potentially half our audience. You need to walk that back. She never cared because look, I don't know her personally. I can speculate though that that's because she just attributed that to wrong think, bad person, undesirable. Right? And it's like, oof, that's an L, especially in the modern day. In the modern day, that's a big L. And you don't have to like, I don't think you have to like come out here and say we're getting rid of wokeness and like, do that. there's all kinds of ways to say it. You could just say, we live in a divided time with a lot of political ideas up for discussion with a lot of passion. And Star Wars has always been about exploring these different perspectives and the good and bad within us and within institutions. And all our Star Wars fans and their perspectives are valuable to the tapestry that is a galaxy far, far away. I literally just said nothing. But it sounded good. Like, it kind of sounded like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's unbelievable to me that, like, how is that not obvious? Yeah, but you'd be ripped apart if you said, wait, what? But you'd rip that apart if you heard it? No, I wouldn't. I've been begging for them to say something like that for years. It would be my greatest joy if they said something like that. I'd be like, finally! You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Anyways, guys, I think I might get on out of here. Yeah, I think I might get on out of here. Is there anything else? Any last minute questions? Anything else you want to hit me up with? What do you think? You'd be happy with a meaningless nothing statement. Yeah, no, I would. I absolutely would, Am. Because even though I will know it's fluff, there will be a lot of other people that read into it at the very least a different tone than what's been happening for the past 4 or 5 years. And because what is perceived as real is real in its consequences to the individual, it would be good. Like, do we have to do like a human psychology? Like, you need me to break it down? Like, what do we need to talk about? Processing? Cognitive bias? Dissonance? Is this Psych 101? Are you mad about Warhammer? I'm furious about Warhammer. Should I talk about that a little bit? No, stop the stream. Throw in the towel. Okay. Let me talk about Warhammer a little bit, which, by the way, I'm not trying to be super toxic, but you guys should go help me ratio Games Workshop. All right, we'll end on this. I'll be quick. Okay, so let me explain what's going on. Warhammer gets a new edition. Okay, this is probably over a year ago now. And new set of rules, new way to play. So my friends and I are getting into the game around that time, and it's awesome. Okay, so the way they decided to roll this out was, at first, they gave every army what is known as an index. That's just like your core rules, and it was free. Oh, the glorious times. It was free. And they said, you'll all get an index, and then we have a roadmap, and each army will eventually get a codex. Okay? Now, the codex was designed as even more interesting rules. So let's say you have one detachment in your index, one way to play your army. Well, in the codex, you get several different ways to play your army. And this is supposed to also come out when you get new models. And so it's supposed to be a really feel-good time. I was looking forward to it. I have 2 armies. I have Dark Angels and I have Custodes. And I was like, bro, I cannot wait. I cannot wait until the Dark Angels Codex. Oh my God, can't wait. And then it would be the Custodes. Oh, I can't wait to get my Custodes shit. Okay, so Dark Angel stuff comes out a couple of weeks ago. And it's horrible. Nerfs across the board. Detachments that don't make any sense. And I was like, this is unfucking believable. But I have another army. It's going to be fine. Like, whatever. They'll probably fix it. And then over the past couple of days, leading maybe all the way into last week, they started to leak the Custodes Codex, okay? And I'm like, oh, shit, here we go! And it's the same thing. Nerfs across the board. Entire detachments that don't make any sense. And the reason is obvious, okay? It's because they wrote these things 8 to 9 months ago, and they made a lot of changes to the game within that 8 to 9 month span. And because there's not good communication, it's a management problem. So now all the codexes are hitting, and they don't even match up with the way the rules currently play. So I haven't bought shit for the Dark Angels and their new codex. I'm not buying shit for the Custodes. And I'm basically losing my fucking mind right now. And I've got, some of my friends are trying to like talk me off the ledge and trying to be real chill about it. I'm looking at you, Alex. And there is no chill. There is literally no chill. And I am very fucking upset. I'm not buying anything else until they fix these things. So that's my rant about Warhammer. Lude, welcome back to the Nerd Avengers, baby. Just in time for the Diamond Lounge. Let's go. Mariana, that's very generous with a 10 spot. I lost some respect for Theory after his off-the-cuff comments about Deborah Chow and Ming Now. But I agree Disney and Lucasfilm are ridiculous over dealing with these dumb decisions and virtue signaling. Yeah. I think when you're streaming or you're live, one of the concerns can be you sort of offhandedly or off the cuff say something that can be interpreted in a bad way. And that's something I think about sometimes when I stream too. For me, it's part of the reason why streaming can be very draining, because I'm sort of constantly thinking like, okay, but you got to say this in a way that's articulate and balanced and all that, right? And so I think that can be sort of a bad part of streaming. And just out of curiosity, have I ever said anything in a stream that maybe upset you a little bit, Chad? Was there ever a time where maybe I did the same thing? I think probably yes, right? And then as to the second part of your thing, I think one of here's what I'll say. I have thought for a while that, fandom menace, which I don't even think is a thing anymore, but really like a lot of anti-Disney, anti-Star Wars channels, I think they've unfortunately made the problem with Star Wars worse. They're not actually helping at all. And part of the reason why is because it's easy to point at some of the ridiculous things they say or do and kind of try to rope people in that just have legitimate concerns into that group. Famously, I was actually put into a video about the Fandom Menace back in the day. This was like around the time that I was trying to do the Gray Order and stuff like that. I was literally put into a Fandom Menace video because they didn't care that I tried to be nuanced about this stuff. They just cared that I said Kathleen Kennedy should be fired. And I think Kathleen Kennedy should be fired. So when you can kind of just group people together with maybe some of the worst actors, it kind of makes your point look illegitimate. And I think that there's a mental hang-up with a lot of people, and potentially a lot of people at Lucasfilm themselves, because they can't see the difference. You know what I mean? They don't really know. Like, in some ways, I feel bad for them because you do look out there and some of these people are crazy. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, it's a tough one. I mean, it's like, it's tough from their perspective. It's tough for the other people's perspective, but I don't think they're actually doing good work. You know what I mean? As far as like trying to actually fix the problem. 100%. Sometimes you can be hurtful. LOL. Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Let's see here. Wake up, Disney. Hayden and Ariana in Clone Wars live action would crush every Disney Star Wars show combined. I don't know about that. I don't know what the answer is for Star Wars anymore. I almost feel like they need to go away for a while and kind of revamp, but we'll see. I mean, they've got Tales of the Empire looks cool. Maybe Ahsoka will be really good, or season 2. Maybe Acolyte will be really good. No, Josh, I put 1,000%. Whatever. I can't believe you got me defending this man. LOL. But getting mad at Theory for what other people say is insane brain rot. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I don't know the details of exactly what you're talking about there. I'm holding out for the Dawn of the Jedi. Dawn could be good. Dawn could be real good. Yeah, I see you guys arguing in chat. I just don't know the context. I don't know what you're talking about exactly. So, I assume it's connected to the super chat she sent, but I didn't see him read the super chat, so I don't know what he's. I don't know what that's about, guys. I don't know. I don't know about that. Yeah. I didn't need the Star Wars naysayer channels to say Star Wars was trending down. The movies spoke for themselves. That's true. You're not wrong. Ooh. Peach Momoko did a little Turtles piece that she shared on Twitter recently. It looks really good. Here, I'll show you this. I like her art a lot. I think she's real good. Look at that, man. That's beautiful. Pretty cool. All right, guys, I'm going to get on out of here. Videos going to be dropping throughout today, throughout tomorrow, throughout Sunday. Diamond Lounge stream tonight at 7:30. Let's aim for 11 or noon on Sunday. I'll let you guys know on the Discord. Thoughts on Bad Batch new episode? I haven't watched it. I have not watched it. But yeah. Much love to you all. I appreciate you. We'll be back at it next week, too. I hope you guys have a good weekend. If I don't see you, 11? Yeah, probably 11. We'll see. We'll see. And as I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video. Is everybody gone? Did everybody leave? Woo! That was a good one. Man, I love cutting it up with Rob, man. Just feels like going back to the comic shop, hanging out with the bros. Also, it's ironic because, I mean, dude, I love Rob's videos, man. And like, I remember back in the day, he did the Omega Level Mutant series. And he would talk up. I remember reading that. This was before I was really going to do YouTube. And his videos kind of were one of the first things I really got into. So it's just cool, you know, feels good. So I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Had some good, I had a good time on the stream. I hope you guys had a good time. Appreciate you. Much love. Open up your third eye. And wash out your stinky butt.